Chapter 115. Fourth senior brother's soul was about to dissipate. Bai Yifeng's words instantly silenced the entire cave. Su Yike and Lu Tianzhan stopped talking. Third senior brother Hua Ke also sighed and shook his head. No matter how miraculous it was, it couldn't change the current situation. Silence, collective silence. None of the Windwheel 9 sons could be missing. The 9th son of the Wheel of Wind would usually not appear. Sumo, a junior brother like this, could only be found by chance. The 9 revolutions of the windmill required many factors. Among them, the most important thing was to gather all 9 of them. If Windmill's 4th senior brother was no longer around, it would be useless even if Sumo built her foundation. With one less person, the windmill could not move at all. How much longer can 4th brother last? Eldest senior brother asked. 3 months at most. 7th senior sister replied. In fact, if it weren't for 4th brother's secret technique, his soul would have been scattered long ago. We all know how much he has suffered over the years. Neither alive nor dead. Eldest senior brother nodded, and then puffed out a mouthful of water smoke. Then let's limit it to 1.5 months. If junior brother really can't build his foundation during this period, we'll prepare to give him the Windwheel empowerment. And in the future, eldest senior brother said in a muffled voice, it will depend on himself and the fortune of our Windwheel lineage. The others nodded solemnly. No one objected to eldest senior brother's words, because that was the final decision. Once the Windwheel empowerment was completed, this was the last resort of the Windwheel lineage. This was the only way at the moment. At this moment, second senior brother looked at everyone again and said slowly, in this 1.5 months, remember not to make any mistakes. In a while, Old 5 and Old 6 will spread the news of junior brother's failure. Huh? Lu Tianzhan was taken aback. Previously, little junior brother's talent was so outstanding that it definitely attracted the attention of the other factions. The 9th disciple of Windmill was someone they had always wanted to kill. Fortunately, Mu Jinghong had something to say, and his little junior brother was about to enter seclusion. That was why there was no disturbance. However, junior brother has already come out of seclusion, so it's hard to say. Spreading the news of little junior brother's foundation establishment failure is to stabilize the hearts of the Meridians. A cultivator who had failed to build his foundation twice was no longer a threat. This way, little junior brother will be safer. Maybe we can save some energy. Second senior brother explained. Su Yike and Lu Tianzhan nodded in agreement. This was indeed a good idea. Second senior brother continued. Mu Jinghong said that the chaos of the 5-wheel realms is coming. From what I can see, the 5 wheels might not be able to avoid a huge battle. The Selectan sect in the north had been eyeing them like a tiger watching its prey. The opportunity they had been waiting for might be coming. Hopefully, the 5 wheels wouldn't panic. Otherwise, the latter half of second senior brother's words had a profound meaning. With his wisdom, he naturally realized that once the 5 wheels changed, White Bones would definitely attack. 7th senior sister Bai Yifeng looked at everyone and added another sentence. 5 wheels, there really is trouble. Let's not change anything and just guard the 9 windwheel peaks. As long as the wind wheels are not destroyed, the 5 wheels will naturally exist. Everyone nodded in understanding. At this moment, Su Yike threw the 3 ancient copper coins in his hand into the air. The 3 copper coins collided with each other and fell to the ground. It was a sign of great luck. Great luck? Su Yike couldn't help but smile bitterly. That was because the current situation did not seem to be very auspicious. His divination seemed to be inaccurate. Hee. Lu Tianzhan regained his wretched look. 5th senior brother, your divination has always been accurate. Who knows? Maybe in a few days, everything will turn around and the situation will be reversed. It's hard to say. Let's hope so. Su Yike shook his head and put away the copper coins. The others laughed along with him. Regarding the matter regarding Sumo, everyone stopped talking about it. As for the other matters, they had already made a decision. The Windwheel Masters had a sense of unruliness and carefreeness in their bones. Therefore, they weren't too depressed. The result of everything was not unacceptable. Wasn't the reason for the existence of the Windwheel lineage to pass down the last inheritance? It was just that they were one step early or one step late. They were always ready. Tonight, we'll kill a spirit pig. Let's celebrate little junior brother coming out of seclusion. At this moment, eldest senior brother put away his water pipe and coughed violently. Oh, everyone was stunned at first, but then they laughed and cheered. Eldest senior brother's spirit pig couldn't be killed casually. In the past, he only killed one every year. Now, thanks to Sumo, everyone had the fortune to eat again. The cave abode on the first peak of the Windwheel Mountain was full of laughter. It seemed that all the bad things in the future would melt in the laughter. Perhaps they could still eat meat and drink wine even when they were in pain. At this moment, Sumo and 8th senior brother Han were rushing to Sky Wheel Mountain together. Since they were going to see Mu Jinghong, Sumo changed into the green robe that 7th senior sister gave him in order not to look too dispirited. The beggar's clothes could not be worn anymore. In this way, Sumo's whole person seemed to be a little more spirited. This was Sumo's second time coming to Sky Wheel Mountain, but he still knew the location of Mu Jinghong's cave abode. It was true that 8th senior brother Han was a little silly. However, along the way, he had been trying to enlighten Sumo. Since 2nd senior brother said that you can build your foundation, then you will definitely be able to build your foundation. All these years, 2nd senior brother's words had never been wrong. 2nd senior brother predicted everything in Windwheel Mountain like a god. You are junior brother Windwheel, so everyone will think of a way for you. Even if you really can't build your foundation in the future, I will protect you, and no one can bully you. The people of the Windwheel lineage can't be bullied by others, and so on. So, don't worry, junior brother, Sumo replied with a smile, because he knew that 8th senior brother's thoughts were very simple. Han also knew what it meant to be unable to build his foundation, so he was just using his own way to comfort Sumo. Sumo's heart ached a little, but he was even more touched. Can I really not build my foundation? I hope senior sister Mu can give me a good answer, Sumo thought. Mu Jinghong's cave abode was on an independent peak of Skywheel Mountain. Because of Mu Jinghong's transcendent status in the 5 wheels, she occupied a peak by herself and named it Verdant Cliff. Usually, Mu Jinghong was alone. She was the only one on Verdant Cliff. This was quite similar to the people of the Windwheel lineage. When Sumo and Han landed on Verdant Cliff, Mu Jinghong already knew. Sumo, you're out of seclusion? This was somewhat out of Mu Jinghong's expectations, because it was indeed a little too fast. When Sumo and Han arrived at Verdant Cliff's cave abode, Mu Jinghong was already standing outside the cave abode. Mu Jinghong was still wearing a black dress, and she was tall and slender. On her slender waist hung a black embroidered pouch. That outfit had not changed for many years. Her temperament was otherworldly, and she was as cold as an immortal. She was still as beautiful as ever. Mu Jinghong looked the same as when Sumo first met Sumo outside Silent Death Valley. When Mu Jinghong saw Sumo from afar, her expression did not change much. Although Sumo, who was wearing a green robe, caused her to be in a trance for a moment, Mu Jinghong was already used to her indifference. Sometimes, Mu Jinghong was like a black sculpture. However, this sculpture was stunning, beautiful, and mysterious. Chapter 116. Senior Sister Mu. Sumo had mixed feelings when she saw Mu Jinghong bowing. Mu Jinghong always gave her the feeling that he was very far away and unpredictable. Senior Sister Mu. Han bowed as well. This time, Han also knew who Mu Jinghong was. As he was accompanying Sumo to visit Mu Jinghong, his attitude was completely different from the other night. No need for formalities. I've been waiting for a long time. Mu Jinghong's voice was neither warm nor cold. Sumo, you actually came out of seclusion so quickly. Didn't your 7th senior sister say that you were going to build your foundation? Mu Jinghong scanned her with his divine sense and knew that Sumo's cultivation level was at the perfected 9th level of the Qi refinement realm, and she had not built her foundation. However, she deliberately mentioned 7th senior sister in her tone. Women's thoughts were very strange. Sumo's expression was a little unnatural, but she did not think much about 7th senior sister. If she failed to build her foundation, The person Sumo was most unwilling to face was not the senior brothers and sisters of the Windwheel lineage, but Mu Jinghong. This woman, who had helped him get on 5 wheels outside the Silent Death Valley, had a special meaning to him. It was an indescribable feeling. Sumo was most unwilling to appear as a failure in front of Mu Jinghong. Subconsciously, he had always wanted to be Mu Jinghong's pride. However, this time, he had to face Mu Jinghong again. Senior Sister Mu, I failed to build my foundation, and I failed twice. Sumo's tone was low as she tried to control her emotions. That's why I especially came here to see if you have any advice. Failed to build your foundation. Failed twice? Mu Jinghong's face did not change when he heard Sumo's words. He did not seem to be shocked at all. There was even a hint of a teasing smile in the depths of her eyes. However, that look disappeared in a flash. That was because she had guessed that Sumo could not build her foundation. It was just that she was not sure previously. However, in a little more than 2 months, Sumo could actually break through to the foundation building realm. Even though she knew that Sumo was not ordinary, she was still a little surprised. You still have one more chance. Mu Jinghong looked at Sumo. This sentence sounded like a consolation. However, it also gave people a feeling that it didn't matter to her that Sumo didn't succeed in building her foundation. That was because it was nonsense. Who didn't know that cultivators had 3 chances to reach foundation establishment? It seemed that Mu Jinghong did not take Sumo's foundation establishment to heart. Sumo, your robe is not bad, Mu Jinghong said as he sized up Sumo. Huh? 7th senior sister made it for me, Sumo said casually. At the same time, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Why are you still looking at my robes at this time? I didn't build my foundation, and I failed twice. Didn't you hear? However, Mu Jinghong didn't mention whether Sumo could reach the foundation establishment or not. However, his face seemed to become colder, and he didn't say anything else. Huh, right? You still have one more chance to build your foundation. Sumo was a little embarrassed. She seemed to feel that she had said something wrong. This was because Mu Jinghong's behavior was a little strange. It seemed that he had no intention of giving her any advice. Therefore, she could only find something to say. However, Mu Jinghong still didn't say anything. Then, Sumo remembered that she was asked to come by 7th senior sister, who said that senior sister Mu had something to discuss with her. She said, 7th senior sister told me to find senior sister Mu at Sky Wheel Mountain after my seclusion. May I know what senior sister Mu wants? 7th senior sister again? Mu Jinghong's eyes were even more displeased. Sumo, are your 7th senior sister's words an immortal decree? You won't come if she doesn't ask you to? Sumo couldn't help but grimace. Did this woman take the wrong medicine today? Why is she so unreasonable? Didn't you ask my 7th senior sister to pass the message? What do you mean by 7th senior sister's words are an immortal decree? If 7th senior sister didn't tell me, how would I know that you were looking for me? However, Sumo was still smart. He knew that he shouldn't reason with women. At the same time, he also heard some hidden meaning in Mu Jinghong's words. Replying to senior sister Mu, 7th senior sister was just passing the message. Senior sister Mu's words are the real immortal decree. I came as soon as I heard about it. I didn't dare to delay at all, Sumo said sincerely. Mu Jinghong snorted coldly. However, that cold snort didn't seem to contain the anger from before. Sumo's flattery was right. Women, sure enough, they all like to listen to flattery. Sumo criticized in her heart. If there's any problem that can't be solved with flattery, then continue to sweet talk. However, Sumo was wrong. Sweet talk depended on who said it. If anyone from the 5 wheels dared to be glib with Mu Jinghong, they would have died many times over. However, the words senior sister Mu were the real immortal decree. After Mu Jinghong snorted coldly, his expression softened. Fortunately, you haven't forgotten your identity. Of course, that was referring to the 3 years of servitude agreement between her and Sumo. Sumo, I definitely won't forget, Sumo replied. Sumo was absolutely sincere when she said this. Firstly, she didn't forget kindness. Secondly, she didn't forget the gap between them. To Sumo, Mu Jinghong was still unreachable. especially after he failed to build his foundation. If he couldn't build his foundation, then they would definitely be in two different worlds. Currently, Sumo subconsciously felt a little inferior in front of Mu Jinghong. Mu Jinghong seemed to understand the meaning behind Sumo's words, but he didn't say anything. "Come into the cave. I have something to say to you," Mu Jinghong said to Sumo. "Thank you, senior sister Mu." Sumo saw that there was finally some progress. After all, senior sister Mu didn't shut her out and didn't say that she couldn't help her. Thus, Mu Jinghong led Sumo into the cave. 8th senior brother Han Tian naturally followed. However, Mu Jinghong turned around and said coldly, "Only Sumo can go in. No one else is allowed." "Huh?" Han Tian immediately shook his head. 7th senior sister asked me to protect little junior brother. "Little junior brother, I have to follow wherever he goes." As he spoke, Han Tian followed closely behind Su Mo as if he wanted to stay close to him. "Your 7th senior sister can't decide for me," Mu Jinghong sneered. "If little junior brother can go in, why can't I?" Han Tian shouted. "He's my servant. If you serve me as your master, I can also invite you in," Mu Jinghong said. "That won't do," Han Tian said. "How can a disciple of Great Gale serve you as his master?" "Great Gale disciple, he?" Mu Jinghong sneered. "Then wait here." "That won't do." Han Tian grabbed Sumo. "Little senior brother, 7th senior sister said that I can't leave your side. She won't let me in, so you can't go in either." Sumo was a little embarrassed. However, he knew that 8th senior brother was stubborn. "Senior sister Mu, look." Before Sumo could finish her sentence, Mu Jinghong looked at Sumo coldly. "Cut the crap. Otherwise, you can't come in either." "Huh?" Sumo could only discuss with Han Tian. However, Han Tian wouldn't agree no matter what. In the end, Sumo had no choice but to use the windmill jade slip to transmit her voice to 7th senior sister. Finally, 7th senior sister agreed. Han Tian then stood outside Mu Jinghong's cave. "Little junior brother, if you don't come out, I won't leave. If something happens, I'll fight my way in." In the end, Han Tian was still worried and shouted, "Huh, all right." Sumo braced herself and agreed. "If you dare to come in, I'll kill you." Mu Jinghong also threatened. Sumo felt a headache when she saw this. Fortunately, Mu Jinghong didn't continue to argue with Han Tian. He directly opened the cave and led Sumo in. A man and a woman alone. Chapter 117. Mu Jinghong's cave abode was one of the best in the Sky Wheel Mountain. As soon as Sumo entered, she felt that the spiritual energy here was extremely abundant. It was not inferior to her windmill cosmic cave. However, the furnishings inside the cave abode were simple and did not look luxurious. Stone table, stone bench, stone bed. These were the standard of a normal cave abode. This was somewhat similar to Mu Jinghong's usual dressing, which gave people a cold feeling. However, this was a female cultivator's cave abode after all. A faint fragrance lingered in the cave. This caused Mu Jinghong's cave abode to finally have a trace of gentleness. Apart from these, there was a rather eye-catching painting on the wall. Sumo could not help but take a closer look. The background of the painting was actually a vast sea. Above the sea, there was a vague white mountain. On the sea, in front of the mountain, there seemed to be many lotus flowers. Some had yet to bloom, and some had already bloomed. On the shore, there was actually a withered tree that seemed to have lived for thousands of years. However, the withered tree was made of iron and silver. It was vigorous and strange. Although it was a withered tree, it seemed to have endless power and could revive at any time. The withered tree contained endless beauty. Under the withered tree stood a man in a black robe. However, it was only a slender back view, standing with his hands behind his back. The man in the black robe seemed to be overlooking the white mountains and the sea. Although it was only a man's background, in the painting, it seemed that the entire world was his. That kind of aura seemed to come through the painting, because under his feet, there were endless white bones. A general success was built on the bones of tens of thousands. When a mortal became a venerable, how many white bones were there? That man's aura seemed to coexist with heaven and earth. On the shoulder of the man in the black robe, there was a withered but blood-red petal. There was an inscription on the upper left corner of the painting. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, void to void, nothingness to nothingness. 10,000 years of admiring the world of mortals, a lifetime of white bones. There is only an inscription, but no signature. However, the handwriting was like a drifting cloud, vigorous like a dragon, natural and boundlessly elegant. That painting, those words, they were not ordinary. Sumo was a little intoxicated from looking at it, but she did not really understand it. She only felt that the painting had a profound meaning and was very extraordinary. The man in the painting even had the aura of a king. Senior Sister Mu, who is the person in the painting? Sumo could not help but ask. An old friend. Mu Jinghong only said 2 words. However, a trace of desolation flashed across her eyes. When she heard this, the Jinghong's words, there and there. To be able to hang a person's portrait in one's cave abode, this old friend was definitely not an ordinary old friend, right? Unfortunately, the old friend was a man. In an instant, Su Mo felt a sense of loss in his heart and didn't ask any more questions. Jinghong's faces Mu's Jinghong's and the Jinghong Mu. Mu Jinghong's face. As he Mu of Ming Abos. Jinghong Mu Mountain Mu S is. Mu of the mountain. Mu masters of the pills of Mu Dong. Mu of the Mu of cave. How many foundation establishment pills did you eat after failing twice? Mu Jinghong asked. 5. When Sumo heard Mu Jinghong ask about the foundation establishment pill, she quickly composed herself and answered seriously. Since that's the case, foundation establishment pills are useless to you. Mu Jinghong looked at Sumo. Then, the pair of ice-cold eyes instantly emitted a strange brilliance. Mu Jinghong's eyes turned white. The light shone like a ghost. At that moment, Sumo was shocked. At that moment, Mu Jinghong seemed to have become a stranger. Sumo's soul seemed to be captured by his white gaze. She could not move at all. In Mu Jinghong's eyes, everything in Sumo's pill seemed to be transparent. Mu Jinghong saw it clearly, as if he was looking at a fire. After a while, Mu Jinghong retracted the white light in his eyes and stared at Sumo without saying a word. Huh? Mu Jinghong's gaze gave Sumo goosebumps. This was because Mu Jinghong had been bewitching just now. She did not know what he had seen. He had many secrets that even Mu Jinghong did not know. For example, the Soul Depository Cauldron, the Ancient Mortal Fan, and the Mortal Sieve Sutra. However, Mu Jinghong just stared at Sumo without saying a word. Senior Sister Mu. Senior Sister Mu. Sumo could only speak first. How is my situation? How is it? Mu Jinghong looked at Sumo and sneered. Not good. Senior Sister Mu. Sumo was stunned. What do you mean? Let me ask you. What did you experience in Silent Death Valley? Mu Jinghong asked. Huh. Sumo had wanted to ask about Silent Death Valley, but she did not expect Mu Jinghong to bring it up himself. She hurriedly said, that valley was very empty. There were many black stone pillars and black stones. However, there was a lot of fog, so I did not see anything. Then, I followed my instincts and left the valley in a daze. Sumo's words were almost the same as what he and Mu Jinghong had said previously. He did not mention the white skeletons in Silent Death Valley before, so he naturally could not say it now. Mu Jinghong seemed to have expected that Sumo would repeat what she had said previously. A faint smile appeared on his face. Sumo, this is my cave abode. If I wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as flipping my hand. Even the people from the Windwheel lineage cannot save you. Do you know that? I know, Sumo replied. However, for some reason, he was no longer afraid of Mu Jinghong's threat. Ever since Mu Jinghong returned his soul blood to him, he understood that Mu Jinghong would not kill him. Otherwise, it would be great to have a drop of soul blood. Why did you lie to me when you knew? Mu Jinghong said coldly. I didn't lie to you, Sumo said. You didn't lie to me? Mu Jinghong took a step forward. If you didn't lie to me, then let me ask you. What's up with the white bone immortal root in your pill C? Where did it come from? Don't tell me you managed to cultivate half of your own bone? Ah, Sumo was shocked. Senior Sister Mu was even more powerful than third senior brother. She could actually see through his pill C. One had to know that no one in the entire Windwheel lineage could see through his pill C. Sumo hesitated for a moment. However, that half of the white bone could be considered to have been cultivated by him, because it was not something he had obtained after leaving Silent Death Valley. However, Mu Jinghong understood that Sumo had concealed it from him. He could not help but feel angry. Instantly, Mu Jinghong raised one hand. Swish, a black light flashed. Mu Jinghong's water-like black sword had already appeared in his hand. He actually placed it on Sumo's neck. The water-like black sword exuded an ancient chill. Sumo, if you hide anything from me again, I will kill you. Mu Jinghong's voice suddenly turned cold. You're too unqualified as a servant. Sumo could only feel the coldness on her neck. However, she actually raised her head to look at Mu Jinghong. At this moment, the two of them were less than 3 feet apart. Although it was not her first time seeing Mu Jinghong, Sumo really did not have the opportunity to see him face to face. A peerless beauty, a devastatingly beautiful woman. Mu Jinghong was really beautiful. Senior Sister Mu, you are really beautiful. Sumo actually said such a melodramatic sentence when the sword was placed on her neck. Huh? Mu Jinghong did not expect Sumo to say such a thing. For a moment, he did not know how to reply. Sumo was getting more and more daring. However, this sentence actually broke Mu Jinghong's aura. You? Mu Jinghong wanted to press down on the sword and teach Sumo a lesson. However, his hand did not listen to him. Instead, he was a little flustered. Other than Sumo, who dared to speak to him like this? Senior Sister Mu, will you really kill me? Sumo smiled faintly. After all, if Mu Jinghong wanted to kill her, would he even need to use his sword? It was obvious that he was bluffing. Senior Sister Mu, you are really beautiful, Sumo said in a seemingly serious tone. Instantly, Mu Jinghong's aura weakened. This was because Sumo had seen through his thoughts. His cheeks flushed red. The cold and elegant Mu Jinghong actually had such a beautiful moment. Chapter 118. Mu Jinghong's indifference was a cover for his pride in front of Sumo. Now that Sumo had seen through her thoughts, her expression became unnatural. Swish! Mu Jinghong sheathed his sword and said unhappily, Sumo, you're getting more and more daring. You're not telling the truth, and you're even flirting with me. It looks like you don't want to reach Foundation Establishment. Mu Jinghong turned around and could only mention Foundation Establishment to ease the awkwardness. When Su Mo saw Mu Jinghong sheath his sword, he knew that his thoughts were correct. He couldn't help but smile and slowly said, Senior Sister Mu, I actually saw many skeletons in the Silent Death Valley. However, I don't know if it has anything to do with my white bone immortal root. White skeletons. Mu Jinghong raised his eyebrows and immediately turned around to ask, What kind of white skeletons? Tell me more. Those skeletons were emitting a pale white light. They must have been very old and definitely weren't the bones of ordinary cultivators. Moreover, they were all crawling forward with one arm raised, pointing towards the depths of Silent Death Valley. However, the depths of Silent Death Valley were shrouded in fog, so I couldn't see anything. How many of those skeletons did you see? Mu Jinghong asked. 9. Sumo couldn't help but frown as he recalled the scene back then. There's one every 10 steps. However, those skeletons seemed to have an extremely strange power. When I reached the 9th skeleton, I could no longer endure that bizarre power. My soul was shaken. My soul was shaken, and I vomited blood in the end. However, there were definitely more than 9 skeletons in the entire Silent Death Valley. Strange power? Vomiting blood? Mu Jinghong frowned and nodded. Yes, that power was something I couldn't withstand at that time. Sumo said, now that I think about it, it should be the remnant pressure from the skeletons. Besides those skeletons, what else did you see in the valley? Don't hide it, because it concerns your future Foundation Establishment. Mu Jinghong looked at Sumo with deep meaning. I really don't have any this time. Sumo was afraid that Mu Jinghong wouldn't believe her, so she hurriedly said, "In Silent Death Valley, besides the broken stone array, there are only those skeletons. Apart from that, almost nothing else existed. Or, there's something else in the depths, but I did not see it because I did not dare to go deeper. Gods come to bury the dead. Immortals come to rest." Mu Jinghong nodded and then silently recited the 2 lines carved on the stone outside Silent Death Valley. Finally, he looked coldly at Sumo and said, "I'll trust you this once. Of course you have to believe me. I've already said that I didn't dare to tell you about white bones because I was afraid of Senior Sister Mu. Because I don't know what those white skeletons represent," Sumo said. "You were afraid of me." "Hee, are you not afraid now?" Mu Jinghong sneered. "Huh, I'm scared. Sumo felt that it was better to be careful with Mu Jinghong's temperamental personality and not go overboard. "You're smart." Mu Jinghong finally calmed himself down and let out a long sigh. She was really afraid that Sumo would continue to flirt with her, and there was really nothing she could do. Kill Sumo? Even Mu Jinghong did not believe it. In Mu Jinghong's heart, the current Sumo was no longer the little beggar he had met for the first time. Because of that drop of soul blood, Mu Jinghong understood many things. "Senior Sister Mu, do you have a way for me to build my foundation? Is the state of the immortal root in my Dan C related to my experience in Silent Death Valley?" Sumo asked his key question. This was the most important thing at the moment. "There must be." Mu Jinghong's expression seemed to be a little hesitant, but his answer was very firm. "Then how can I build my foundation?" Sumo asked hurriedly. "Go to Silent Death Valley," Mu Jinghong said. "Huh?" Sumo was stunned. "Senior Sister Mu, that is a forbidden area for cultivators in the White Bone mainland. My second senior brother said that even deity tribulation cultivators can go in and not come out. How we go there? Will it be too dangerous to go in?" Mu Jinghong sneered. "Forbidden areas for cultivators also depend on the cultivators. Didn't you, a mortal, go in as well? Others can't go in, but you will definitely be fine." I went in muddle-headedly. Sumo did not lie. This was because he did not know what was going on outside Peach Blossom Town. How can one attain the Great Tao without entering a dangerous area? Then Silent Death Valley. Mu Jinghong's expression was complicated. Sumo thought that Mu Jinghong would tell her the secret of Silent Death Valley, but he did not. "Your extraordinary talent originated from Silent Death Valley." Mu Jinghong continued. "That half of the white bone immortal root is definitely the karma of Silent Death Valley. Now, normal foundation building methods are useless to you. You will have to go to Silent Death Valley to find the answer." Actually, Mu Jinghong already had a guess, but he needed to go to Silent Death Valley to confirm it. Hearing this, Sumo could only nod. "Senior Sister Mu, when do we go?" 3 days from now, at the same time, come to my cave abode again. I have my own arrangements," Mu Jinghong said. "All right, I'll listen to you, Senior Sister Mu," Sumo replied. "Have a good rest in these 3 days. Silent Death Valley is a forbidden area. It's better for you to make some preparations. Elixirs, Dharma treasures, whatever you can prepare. However, you must not tell anyone about our trip to 5 Wheels, including your senior brothers and sisters from the Windwheel faction. This is because the implications of Silent Death Valley are too great," Mu Jinghong said. "All right." Although Sumo did not really understand what Mu Jinghong was planning, she still nodded in agreement. "Senior Sister Mu, does that mean that everything will be fine?" Sumo asked. "Yes, everything will be fine." Mu Jinghong nodded. "Then I'll take my leave and return to Windwheel Mountain. I'll come back in 3 days." Sumo looked at Mu Jinghong and said, "All right." Mu Jinghong nodded. "Senior Sister Mu, aren't you going to send me off?" Sumo smiled. This was because Sumo felt that Mu Jinghong had no intention of sending her off. It was as if she was unwilling to let him go. "What are you going to do? Can't you find a way?" Mu Jinghong said coldly, but he still stood up. Then, he waved his hand and opened the cave abode. "Senior Sister Mu, you should prepare yourself too. I'll definitely come to the cave abode in 3 days," Sumo said to Mu Jinghong. His tone was deliberately gentle, and his words were vague. It sounded like the two of them were going to the cave abode for a rendezvous. Cut the crap and leave. Mu Jinghong bit his lips and said hatefully. Sumo smiled. She was really willing to see Mu Jinghong's cold and shy expression. Then, she left the cave abode. Mu Jinghong closed the cave abode and did not send her off. Little junior brother, are you all right? Han Tian came over and pulled Sumo, looking her up and down. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Sumo was neatly dressed. Eighth senior brother, what are you doing? Sumo said, I think that Mu Jinghong looks like a demoness. I'm afraid that she'll molest you again. Han Tian scratched his head and said, I heard that it's easy for a man and a woman to get into trouble when they're alone. After hearing Han Tian's words, Sumo did not know whether to laugh or cry. Sigh. Eighth senior brother. Sumo hugged Han Tian's waist. Because Han Tian was really too tall, she cried and said, I hope that the heavens will give me a chance to be molested. When that time comes, eighth senior brother, you must not stop her. Let her molest me to her heart's content. I'll accept my fate. Is that good? Han Tian asked very seriously. Ha! Sumo laughed. Of course it's good. Let's go, my eighth senior brother. The two of them laughed and left Fleeting Cliff. At this moment, Mu Jinghong heard everything clearly from inside the cave abode. Her beautiful face was so embarrassed that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Fortunately, at that moment, no one saw it. Chapter 119. In the cave at Fleeting Cliff. Mu Jinghong leaned against the wall and smiled shyly. Mu Jinghong would never show such an expression in front of anyone. However, when Mu Jinghong looked up, she saw the painting. In an instant, Mu Jinghong seemed to have thought of something. Her daughter's expression just now gradually disappeared. She understood that this wasn't the expression she should have. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, emptiness to emptiness, nothingness to nothingness. 10,000 years of admiring the mortal world, a lifetime of white bones. Mu Jinghong recited slowly with a trace of deep sorrow in her eyes. The white bones would eventually be overturned. Fleeting Cliff was just a glimpse. Everything was just a dream. Mu Jinghong's expression finally turned cold. However, which one was the real Mu Jinghong? Furthermore, Sumo and Han Tian left Fleeting Cliff. Along the way, Sumo and the rest met many Heaven Wheel disciples. She remembered the last time Sumo came. Almost everyone greeted her warmly. Some even came from afar to chat with her. That was because that was the time when Sumo was at her peak. Although she entered the weakest wind wheel lineage, it was still an honor for her to be appointed by the founder. At that time, everyone was optimistic about Sumo's future. However, this time, Sumo met many five-wheel disciples along the way, but very few of them greeted her. Some of them even talked about Sumo when they saw her. Sumo didn't care at first, but she occasionally heard them talking about her. I heard that the little beggar failed to build his foundation. Really? Is that true? Of course it's true. The entire Five Wheels knows about it. It's news from the inside of Wind Wheel. Hee. I didn't think highly of him at the start. I heard that he failed to build his foundation twice. 2 foundation building failures. Doesn't that make him a cripple? Although there are 3 attempts, I haven't heard of anyone who succeeded the 3rd time. Exactly. The Wind Wheel lineage has produced another useless person. There are lunatics, fools, and now there's another useless person. To think that the founder thought highly of him. This time he misjudged him. Don't talk nonsense. The founder doesn't talk casually. Haha. Along the way, there were people pointing and whispering. Later on, some people were so loud that they didn't care if Sumo could hear them or not. Those who could enter the inner sect and cultivate in the Sky Wheel Mountain were the best of the 5 wheels. This was not Yangzhen Peak. Only those in the 7th level of the Qi refining realm could enter the inner sect, so most of the disciples who came here were in the 8th or 9th level of the Qi refining realm, and there were even some in the foundation establishment realm. Back then, what they valued was Sumo's future. Therefore, he was very polite to Sumo, who was dressed like a beggar. Now, even though Sumo had changed into a green robe, she was still just a normal cultivator of the 9th rank of Qi cultivation. How could they possibly take her seriously? People really didn't care what they were wearing. Strength determined everything. Back then, The reward that Sumo received made countless people envious. However, everyone was jealous, but they didn't say anything. Many people were just like that, unable to see others doing well. Even if others were good or not, it had nothing to do with him. However, after he recovered, he felt uncomfortable. If you're not doing well, he's secretly happy. It was the same for cultivators. When Sumo was in the limelight, he really offended a lot of people. Although Sumo didn't know those people, he himself was probably wondering how he offended them. Now, these people all jumped out. Sumo sneered in his heart, but he didn't flare up. Han Tian was dumbfounded, but he knew what was going on. He was a great cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, and he clearly heard everything along the way. He didn't miss a single one of those unpleasant words. Little junior brother, wait a minute. Han Tian was really annoyed and was about to walk towards the few Sky Wheel Mountain disciples who were pointing at Sumo in the distance. When Sumo saw this, she hurriedly pulled Han Tian. "It's senior brother. What are you doing?" "I'm angry. Someone beat them up and let them talk." Han Tian was straightforward. When Sumo heard this, she laughed. "Eight's senior brother, when I was a beggar, I've heard worse words than this. What is this? Endure it. Besides, what they said is also the truth. Originally, I failed to build my foundation twice." "Truth my ass." Han Tian snorted and then shouted at the few Sky Wheel Mountain disciples in the distance. "Get lost. Otherwise, I'll kill you with one punch." Han Tian was a big guy, and he was a silly late-stage foundation-building cultivator. When he shouted, how could those disciples dare to talk back? If Han Tianjin wanted to kill them, it would probably be hard to reason with them. Therefore, no matter how dissatisfied they were, they had to immediately disperse. "Damn it," Han Tian cursed. Sumo patted Han Tian's waist. "Eight's senior brother, there are many idle people in this world. We can't fight back one by one. They talk about the roots of their tongues, and I cultivate my Tao. It's a waste of time to tangle with such people. In the future, if I can build my foundation, I'll naturally slap their faces. If I can't, they're not wrong." Although Sumo said this, at this time, her heart was already full of energy. Today's situation made Sumo look forward to the silent death valley. "Little junior brother, I'll listen to you. Otherwise, I'll definitely let them have a taste of my fist today." Although Han Tian's brain wasn't good, he knew that the words of the Windwheel Mountain disciples were good. "Who dares to be so presumptuous in my Sky Wheel Mountain? How about letting this old man have a taste of your fist?" Just as Han Tian finished speaking, someone actually responded. Hearing this, Sumo frowned. Which Sky Wheel Mountain master dared to argue with my 8th senior brother for no reason? At this time, an old man wearing a gray robe directly blocked the path of Sumo and Han Tian. The gray robe old man was skinny, but his eyes were bright. Sumo and Han Tian didn't know this old man. At this time, a foundation-building disciple appeared next to the old man and said, "Master, just now, he was the one who said he wanted to kill us." With that, the foundation-building disciple pointed at Han Tian. This action almost made Sumo laugh in exasperation. Was this a fight between children and parents? How could there be people like this in the Sky Wheel Mountain? Just now, I thought 8th senior brother yelled at them to leave, but it turns out that he went to call for help. The master of a foundation-building disciple? Then this gray robe old man. Is he a core formation cultivator? Remember that core formation cultivators were all elders in the 5 wheels, and they usually wouldn't show themselves easily. Would a core formation elder really show up because of what the 8th senior brother said just now? If that was the case, then core formation cultivators were too worthless. If you want to punish someone, you can always find a way to frame them. Sumo instantly understood everything before her. The appearance of this core formation cultivator was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Could it be that he was here for her? At this time, the gray robe old man wasn't looking at Han Tian, but rather, he was staring at Sumo. The peak of the 9th level of Qi training. That was Sumo's realm. The gray robe old man squinted his eyes and gathered his spiritual light, as if he was trying to see through Sumo. As expected, you failed to build your foundation. You can't combine the 9 wheels into one. The gray robe old man sneered. Taking a look at Sumo was the first reason he had appeared. The news of Sumo's failure had spread throughout the 5 wheels. But how could the Sky Wheel Master believe it so easily? The gray robe old man was ordered by Yang Tianxiao to personally verify it. The gray robe old man was talking to himself, but Sumo didn't respond. Han Tian was annoyed. Core formation old man, why are you blocking my way? What does it have to do with you whether or not my junior brother is building his foundation? The 8th son of the Sky Wheel Mountain, Han Tian, didn't care about anyone other than the Sky Wheel Mountain. Otherwise, why would he dare to attack Mu Jinghong? In the entire 5 wheels, there weren't many people who dared to attack Mu Jinghong. Not to mention others. Even the gray robe old man before him wouldn't dare to attack Mu Jinghong. But Han Tian dared. Chapter 120. Completion Level Old Man. Sumo's head swelled after hearing her 8th senior brother's words. Even though Sumo didn't know who the elder in gray was, since he was a completion-level cultivator, he was naturally an elder. Plus, he was a completion-level cultivator from the Tianlun sect. She couldn't say that the entire 5 wheels would shake with a stomp of his foot, but it was about the same. 8th senior brother, you sure dare to say anything. Sumo was in awe and at the same time complained bitterly. What? How dare you be so rude? Just then, the elder in gray focused his gaze on Han Tian. At the same time, a surge of completion level chi emitted from him. In the entire 5 wheels, even the original leveled cultivators wouldn't talk to him like this, right? Sumo instantly felt her body sinking as if thousands of tons of force was pressing down on her. She hurriedly manipulated the chi of immortality inside her to support herself. If he wasn't already at the 9th level of the meditational level and his bones weren't hard, if the elder in gray casually released his chi, Sumo would have puked blood and collapsed to the ground. Even so, Sumo couldn't speak anymore. Who do you think you are? Han Tian mumbled, but didn't think much of it. In theory, completion-level chi could suppress foundational-level cultivators. Han Tian wasn't a completion-level cultivator, so he shouldn't be restricted. The elder in gray wanted to teach Han Tian a lesson. However, Han Tian's body began to emit gold light that dissipated the completion chi. Even Sumo, who was next to him, felt her body lighten up. Greetings, elder. Dare I ask for your name? Just now, my senior brother was being rude. He didn't mean what he said. Please don't blame him. Please be magnanimous. I apologize on behalf of my 8th senior brother. Sumo took this opportunity to greet and say something nice. He was a completion-level cultivator. To know that in the entire Tianlun sect, there wasn't even one completion-level cultivator. Even though 2nd senior brother had told Sumo that anyone from the Tianlun sect could kill anyone in the 5 wheels. However, Sumo only thought that 2nd senior brother was bragging. How could she believe him? It was not like he did not know how miserable the Windwheel faction was. A core formation cultivator was best not to be provoked. Otherwise, he would have to bear the consequences. On top of that, this completion-level elder came with ill intentions and was purposely trying to provoke Han Tian. At this moment, the gray-clothed core formation cultivator merely glanced at Sumo indifferently. There was no trace of contempt in his eyes, because in the eyes of core formation cultivators, Sumo, who failed to build her foundation twice, didn't even have the right to be looked down upon. Those from the Windwheel lineage are all trash. The gray-robed elder did not reply to Sumo at all. Instead, he withdrew his gaze from Sumo and turned his head to sneer at Han Tian. Although Han Tian was unscathed under his pressure, he still did not put Han Tian in his eyes. Core formation and foundation building cannot be mentioned in the same breath. Otherwise, wouldn't everyone in the 5 wheels be Mu Jinghong? Han Tian was merely at the advanced stage of the foundational level. That gray-robed elder was purposely trying to provoke Han Tian. Sumo immediately understood. But how could Han Tian stand what he said? Those from the Windwheel lineage were all trash? That touched Han Tian's bottom line. Completion old man, less bullsh asterisk T. Eat my fist. Han Tian was enraged. His eyes turned red and gold light exploded from his body. That was not something Sumo could stop. Han Tian was too fast. If Sumo had the ability to stop him, she would have reached the foundational level a long time ago. Whoosh, carrying the sound of wind and thunder. Han Tian's fist created a sky full of gold light. Sumo, on the other hand, was sent flying by Han Tian's fist for more than 10 meters to avoid getting hurt. The gray-robed elder raised an eyebrow because Han Tian's fist was far too violent. However, he didn't think of the golden dragon fist. Right now, he merely thought that Han Tian's strength was not bad and that he was somewhat talented. The gray-robed elder was a completion-leveled cultivator, after all. He flapped his sleeve and sent his disciple away. At the same time, he stepped back. The gray-robed elder's other hand formed a circle and created waves of air. The aura of a completion-leveled cultivator. Boom! Han Tian's fist collided with the elder's waves of air. The first punch didn't do much. The gray-robed elder's lips even curled up. A foundational cultivator could overturn the heavens. They weren't even on the same level. Plus, the gray-robed elder wasn't Mu Jinghong. Before Han Tian could punch a second time, he had already counterattacked. The pressure of a completion-leveled cultivator seemed to have no effect on Han Tian. However, a completion-leveled cultivator's technique was completed with one wave of his hand. He formed a hand seal, and a talisman appeared in the air. There was a long howl coming from the talisman. Suddenly, a giant white tiger appeared in the air. The white tiger was 1 meter long and had a pair of wings. It had horns on its forehead, and its eyes were blood red. Roar! The white tiger roared into the sky, and its voice shook the heavens. Spirit cultivator? A summoned beast. From afar, Sumo was shocked. The gray-robed elder was a spirit cultivator. Spirit cultivators were known as the strongest cultivators of the same level. However, Sumo didn't know what level the white tiger was at. But since it was a summoned beast of a completion-leveled cultivator, how could it be ordinary? This completion-leveled elder seemed to have crossed the line. Did he have to summon his own beast to fight a late-stage foundational cultivator? Sumo cursed silently. At the same time, Sumo couldn't help but worry for 8th senior brother. Sadly, he couldn't help. In a battle between a late-stage foundational cultivator and a completion-leveled cultivator, Sumo couldn't even get close. The winged white tiger was named Evil Een and was a mutated spirit beast. The gray-robed elder's Evil Een didn't belong to the Pure Land world at all. It was summoned from another dimension. The technique the gray-robed elder used just now was similar to Sumo's Pure Land Galaxy technique. However, Sumo's technique wasn't fully formed yet. That Evil Een was extremely ferocious and could fight against intermediate and advanced core formation cultivators. The gray-robed elder indeed wanted to show off by summoning a beast. This kind of battle in the sect wasn't about life and death. Han Tian was honest and straightforward. The gray-robed elder had every reason to teach Han Tian a lesson because of his cultivation and identity. However, he didn't dare to kill Han Tian. Therefore, the appearance of the summoned beast was more of a deterrent. Roar! Evil Een roared and flapped his wings. An evil wind rolled up as he charged at Han Tian. Han Tian was full of fighting spirit at the moment. Not to mention a mutated white tiger. He would fight even if a divine dragon descended to the mortal world. Saint Will Golden Dragon Fist, the second punch. Han Tian did not even think as he suddenly rushed forward and directly attacked the white Evil Een. His fist was like a divine hammer, and his body was like a divine general. The golden spiritual energy on Han Tian's body had already turned into the shape of a dragon. In the distance, Sumo and the Tianluan disciples were all dumbfounded. This time, their eyes were wide open. Sumo, in particular, didn't expect her silly 8th senior brother to be so fierce. Ian's tiger claw was about to land on him. However, Han Tian wasn't afraid at all and met it with a punch. Break! Han Tian's shout was as loud as thunder. Chapter 121. Among the 5 wheels, the wind wheel was the weakest. It was even dispensable. This was a widely accepted fact among the 5 wheels. Plus, this had been known for at least 200 to 300 years. When did the wind wheel begin to wither? No one could say for sure. The wind wheel was like a forgotten remnant. Rumors always have wings and will be magnified infinitely. This was how it was. This was how the wind wheel clan's fallen reputation was. Therefore, the wind wheel became the laughing stock of the five wheels. Even the outer disciples of the Yangjian Peak would sometimes mock the wind wheel clan when they got drunk. If there were any attentive cultivators, they would find today's event very interesting, because they had never heard of the wind wheel clan fighting or competing with anyone. Han Tian also rarely left the wind wheel mountain. This time, it was because of 7th Senior Sister's order. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to the Sky Wheel Mountain. Many people only knew that there was an idiot in the Wind Wheel Mountain, but they had never seen him. Therefore, Han Tian's battle shocked the entire Sky Wheel Mountain. Did the Wind Wheel clan want to raise their heads? Foundational against completion, this in itself was illogical. The foundational of the Wind Wheel against the completion of the Wind Wheel, this was unimaginable. But all of this happened. Han Tian was like a god of war. Actually, before this, even the Elder in Gray didn't think much of the Sky Wheel Master's order. Against a foundational wind wheel cultivator, did he need to show himself? Therefore, the Elder in Gray summoned his spiritual beast and didn't want to fight against Han Tian himself. But he immediately realized he was wrong. The Yi's spiritual beast had the ability to fight against a completion cultivator. But in terms of fighting head-on, it was not Han Tian's opponent. Plus, his junior brother didn't reach the foundational level. Han Tian felt strangely annoyed. This was the perfect time to vent some of his anger. Tiger Claw against Human Fist. Spiritual beasts should have the absolute advantage. But that was only in theory. This was because Yin's opponent was Han Tian, a huge man with extraordinary talent and cultivated a secret technique. Boom, crack, roar. In the air, the beast's fists clashed, creating a thunderous noise. Han Tian's golden dragon fist was unstoppable. Ian's claw was not ordinary either. It was enough to kill a foundation establishment cultivator. However, this time, Ian's front claw actually made a cracking sound. Then, he suddenly let out a strange roar. Ian's front claw was broken by Han Tian's fist force. The gray-robed elder could not help but raise his eyebrows. Although Ian wasn't the spirit beast he was most proud of, he shouldn't have been so weak. Killing a late Foundation establishment cultivator was definitely not a problem. Its muscles and bones were definitely comparable to a top-grade Foundation establishment Dharma treasure. Could Han Tian's punch shatter a top-level Foundation establishment level magic treasure? One had to know that a Foundation establishment level magic treasure was much tougher than a Foundation establishment level cultivator's body. But what was going on? What fist technique is that? The gray-robed elder also felt that Han Tian's fist technique was extraordinary. However, he never thought that the Holy Wheel Golden Dragon Fist would be lost for many years. Roar, woo. Ian was ferocious and fearless. After losing a front claw, it actually didn't retreat in the slightest. Instead, its savage nature was aroused, and it roared towards the sky as if it wanted to fight to the death. With a flap of its wings, an evil wind swept up. At the same time, it opened its mouth and spat out a turbid gas. The turbid gas faintly glowed with a green light, and it even had a bit of a fishy smell. Not only that, but Ian opened its big mouth, and its teeth were like daggers as it directly bit towards Han Tian's neck. 8th Senior Brother, be careful, it's poisonous. Sumo shouted. The turbid gas that glowed with a green light was obviously poisonous gas. All the cultivators watching the battle could see it. That was also Yin's natural magic. Who cares if it's poisonous? Han Tian's eyes were blood red as he shouted. Today, I'll kill this big worm. We'll have stew meat on the windmill. Han Tian was not smart, but 7th Senior Sister had told him that he must not kill people easily. That was because 7th Senior Sister was afraid that he would cause trouble. Therefore, even though he was shouting about killing people just now, without an order from the Windmill Mountain, he would definitely not do anything. However, it was different against this AI in front of him. If it's not human, then I'll kill it. Han Tian no longer had any scruples, because 7th Senior Sister didn't say that he couldn't kill it. Stew meat. At this moment, when the Sky Wheel disciples heard Han Tian shout, they all felt some lingering fear. This giant was like an evil god, that fool from the windmill lineage. Fortunately, he didn't really look for me just now. Otherwise, he would probably tear me apart. After hearing Han Tian's words, Sumo also grinned and thought, 8th Senior Brother, can this meat be eaten? At the same time, he immediately transmitted his voice to the other senior brothers and sisters through the windmill jade slip. He was afraid that the final situation would be out of control. The key was that he and 8th Senior Brother couldn't be at a disadvantage. The windmill lineage had few people, and they probably couldn't fight. However, it was better than having no one. Therefore, Sumo immediately began to call for help. If they couldn't win, they would call for help. This was the norm. When they looked again, the golden light on Han Tian's body did not dissipate. The turbid gas that glowed with a green light was directly sprayed around Han Tian. However, what surprised everyone was that Han Tian actually didn't feel it all. Everyone watched as the turbid gas was absorbed by Han Tian and even went straight to his 7 orifices, but Han Tian didn't react at all as if it didn't exist. Immune to all poisons? The gray-robed elder was also stunned. Of course, cultivators were different from mortals. Ordinary poisons were, of course, useless against Foundation establishment cultivators. However, that was Evil Yin's poison. The gray-robed elder naturally knew how powerful Evil Yin's poison was. If this Evil Yin wasn't summoned by him, he himself wouldn't be able to resist that poison. Even core formation cultivators wouldn't be able to resist it. However, this silly big guy from the windmill lineage in front of him was actually unharmed. This guy was really a freak. Almost everyone had the same thought. On the other hand, Sumo was quite excited. 8th Senior Brother, you're awesome. Sumo shouted. Anyway, the news had already spread. In a while, her senior brothers would come. Since things had already come to this, she would call out to help. The disciples of the windmill lineage looked at Sumo with disdain. As for the gray-robed elder's disciple, just now, he sneered and actually went straight for Sumo. Junior Brother Su, let's spar. He was an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. He raised his hand, and a flying sword attacked Sumo. Sumo was just watching the show and didn't think about fighting at all. In times of emergency, it was better for him not to make a move if he could. However, that Foundation establishment cultivator's flying sword was very sudden. Sumo was an Chi refinement cultivator and didn't have any Foundation establishment Chi, so her movements were even slower. Sumo suddenly took a step back. Chi. Although that flying sword didn't stab Sumo, it directly cut a hole in Sumo's new robe. That was the new robe that 7th Senior Sister made for him, and he specially wore it to meet Mu Jinghong. He didn't expect it to be torn just like that. The Windmill Foundation establishment cultivator didn't have the intention to kill, but he definitely wanted to embarrass Sumo. Why should she be afraid of a guy who failed to reach the Foundation establishment realm? Moreover, her master was here to support her. Junior Brother Su, I still feel that you look better in a beggar's outfit. I'll help you change it. Sumo was instantly enraged. Do I need to change it? I can't change it myself. It'll make you look like you're asking for it. Sumo scolded in her heart. At the same time, she patted her storage bag. Swish! It was a sword radiance that was like a thunderbolt. As soon as Sumo's flying sword appeared, it was eye-catching. Fight! The windmill lineage couldn't be bullied. At this point, Sumo didn't think too much. Sumo didn't dare to fight against a core formation cultivator. But the key was that she had a nascent soul-level flying sword. Why would she be afraid of an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator? Chapter 122. Core Formation versus Foundation Building. Foundation Building versus Chi Refinement. The Tianluan sect seemed to be bullying others, but there was no other way. In this world, didn't one's territory have the final say? So what if they bullied you? Unless you were strong enough to fight back. Looking again, Han Tian had broken through Wu Yin's poisonous gas and was directly facing that bloody mouth. But this time, Han Tian didn't punch immediately. Instead, he tilted his head and dodged. But Yin's wings were like blades that swept toward Han Tian. This was exactly what Han Tian wanted. Han Tian was a late-stage foundation-building cultivator. He didn't only know the Golden Dragon's Saint Will Fist, but the Golden Dragon's Saint Will Fist was one of his secret arts. Ian's wings were really like blades. If his sweep hit Han Tian head-on, it would be fatal. But Han Tian suddenly reached out and formed claw. The claw glowed gold. Han Tian's hand was 2.5 times the size of a normal palm. His 5 fingers were as thick as golden hooks. AI Yin's wings swept over, but Han Tian actually caught him in his arms. Yin was strong and wanted to break free. But Han Tian's divine power and golden light surrounded his fingers. Break! Roar! Feeling the pain, Yin let out a strange cry. As it turned out, Han Tian's 5 fingers had actually pierced through Yin's wings below his ribs, locking him in place like golden hooks. Yin roared at the sky but couldn't break free. Blood dripped down his white fur. At the same time, his other wings swept over. Yin's ferocious nature was completely stimulated. He seemed to have gone crazy. Damned worm. But Han Tian shouted and didn't care about Yin at all. Then, he roared and swung Yin, who was 1 meter long and had a tail that was nearly 7 feet long, into the air. Woo, woo! The wind rose and swirled like a long river. Han Tian stood in the air and swung Yin. This scene caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Yin was a summoned spirit beast that could fight core formation cultivators. Why was he like a dead cat in front of Han Tian? At this time, the gray-robed elder's expression changed. He seemed to understand why the chief monk of the Sky Wheel Temple asked him to come. Because the foundational cultivators of the Sky Wheel Mountain were no match for Han Tian, unless it was Mu Jinghong. There was indeed an extraordinary person in the Windwheel faction. Just as he was thinking, Han Tian swung the evil Yin and smashed it at him. Han Tian did not forget that his opponent was the gray-clothed old man. He could use the Yin in his hand as a weapon. At this moment, Wu Yin must be feeling very aggrieved. He was a spirit beast from another world, yet he had fallen to such a state. However, at this moment, it could not struggle at all. Han Tian's strength was too great. In the air, the beast couldn't control itself at all. It was completely under Han Tian's control. Hoo-woo! It was like a giant white whip that lashed directly at the gray-robed old man. At this moment, the gray-robed cultivator raised his eyebrows and became serious. This silly boy Feng Luan's battle prowess was not any weaker than a core formation cultivator. When the gray-robed old man saw Han Tian's attack, he immediately retreated more than 100 feet. Then, he formed another seal. This time, a hint of seriousness appeared on the gray-robed elder's face. In the air, wind and clouds began to gather. The gray-robed elder slapped his storage pouch and a faint yellow gas was emitted. The yellow gas was dense and contained a mysterious item. It seemed like he was going to use his own spiritual beast and not summon it from another space. That would be an even more powerful existence. Back to Sumo. Just now, when the foundational disciple attacked, Sumo barely dodged the flying sword. An early-stage foundational disciple, Sumo really didn't think much of him, because Sumo had a lot of things on him. Since the opponent used a flying sword, Sumo didn't hold back. He took out an original soul-level flying sword. Sumo had 2 original soul-level immortal swords. One was the long one, and the other was the reward given by the sect. The long sword was the treasure of the Heavenly Wheel sect. It was called the Furious Blade. Sumo had never used it before, because under normal circumstances, Sumo felt that his broken bamboo pole was more comfortable. Moreover, ever since Sumo came back from the Piercing Heart Cliff, he hadn't fought with anyone. However, this time, Sumo also wanted to embarrass the foundational disciple. Sumo dodged the opponent's flying sword. Then, Sumo's furious blade of the nascent soul level was unleashed. Its brilliance flashed like a blazing sun. In the blink of an eye, there was a thunderbolt. The furious blade of a mortal slayer didn't go straight for the foundational disciple. Instead, it went straight for his flying sword. Chi, clang. The furious blade flew past and only made a soft sound. The foundational disciple's flying sword was directly cut in half and fell to the ground, because the difference in level was too big. The quality is too low. Sumo mocked, "Senior brother, you're also called an immortal sword? Could it be that you're a vegetable cutter?" Then he recalled the furious blade and held it in his hand. "Do you dare to come again?" Sumo said. The foundational disciple's expression changed. His flying sword just now was a high-level foundational level magic treasure. It was usually very precious. He didn't expect that today, in just one round, it would be cut down by Sumo. "Little beggar, you rely on magic treasures. What kind of skill is that?" "Shameless." The foundational disciple angrily scolded Sumo. "Hee. A beggar is poor and has no other immortal sword. However, can a cultivator fight without a few magic treasures? Why don't you fight with your bare hands? If you have magic treasures, throw them out. Otherwise, don't talk nonsense." Sumo sneered. It seemed that once he couldn't do it, everyone would always remember his beggar background. But so what? That would only arouse Sumo's fighting spirit. The foundational disciple was so angry that he couldn't speak. Actually, Sumo was right. A cultivator relying on magic treasures wasn't embarrassing at all. However, the reward that Sumo received from the sect was too generous. In terms of magic treasures, within the 5 realms, perhaps only a core formation level cultivator with years of accumulation could compete with him. How could a foundational cultivator fight against Sumo? Using a magic treasure given by Sky Wheel Mountain to fight a disciple of Sky Wheel Mountain was simply an insult. However, what could he do if he insulted him? However, since the foundational disciple already attacked, he couldn't easily stop. He didn't have a magic treasure, but he was still 1 realm higher than Sumo. Trash who failed to build his foundation. Watch how I defeat you. The foundational disciple formed a seal with both hands. His foundational aura was released, and a fire dragon directly attacked Sumo. Spells of the 5 elements were the basic spells that cultivators practiced. However, the effects produced by cultivators of different realms were completely different. Even a casual fire dragon spell from a foundational disciple couldn't be underestimated, especially since Sumo hadn't reached the foundational realm yet. However, when Sumo saw the opponent using spells of the 5 elements, especially the fire dragon spell, she couldn't help but sneer in her heart. "You have spells. I have magic treasures. Come." The corner of Sumo's mouth curled up, and her mind moved. 3 fire rotational pills jumped out of her storage bag. Sumo didn't even think about it. He waved his hand. The 3 fire rotational pills formed a triangular shape and went straight to the foundational cultivator. Junior. The foundational cultivator was originally worried about the immortal sword in Sumo's hand. A cultivator at the peak of the 9th level of the Chi refinement realm with a nascent soul immortal sword was enough to fight against an early-stage foundational cultivator and even kill him. The foundational disciple originally used the fire dragon spell to test the waters. He wanted to see how Sumo would change her moves and then respond. However, he didn't expect that Sumo would actually throw out 3 fire rotational pills. "Little beggar, you really are ignorant. Fire rotational pills had no effect on cultivators above the 7th level of the Chi refinement realm. Isn't your fire rotational pill like hitting a rock with an egg?" The foundational disciple suddenly activated his spell. Chapter 123. There is absolutely no problem with a Foundation Establishment Cultivator's spell. This was because his Fire Dragon spell could completely melt a normal Fire Spiral pill. In theory, the 3 Fire Spiral pills that Sumo threw out were equivalent to helping the opponent. It could only make the Foundation Establishment Cultivator's Fire Dragon pill more powerful. However, the Foundation Establishment Cultivator would never have thought that the power of Sumo's Fire Dragon pill had already doubled. Although the difference was not big, especially in battle, one of Sumo's Fire Dragon pill could defeat a cultivator at the 9th level of Chi cultivation. 3 fire dragon pills could injure a Foundation establishment cultivator. In the sea of fire, the Foundation establishment cultivator's expression was cold. However, Sumo's 3 fire dragon pills had already pierced through the sea of fire. Originally, the fire dragon pills should have melted once they entered the sea of fire. However, the Foundation establishment cultivator saw that not only did the 3 fire dragon pills not melt, they even carried the fire dragon chi towards him. Something's wrong. At this moment, the Foundation establishment cultivator had already discovered the abnormality. However, it was already too late. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 pills exploded consecutively like a thunderstorm. The Foundation establishment cultivator's sea of fire was instantly blown apart. Moreover, the sea of fire swept towards the Foundation establishment cultivator. What kind of fire dragon pill is that? Why is it so powerful? However, it was already too late for him to think of anything. Whoosh! The sea of fire swallowed him and drowned him. Fortunately, the Foundation establishment cultivator was not ordinary. In a hurry, he formed a hand seal and summoned a water screen. Whoosh! Sizzle! Using water to fight fire was a good countermeasure. However, his spell was still too late. Although the sea of fire was not fatal, when it dissipated, the Foundation establishment cultivator's clothes were already disheveled. His robe was burnt black like a tattered piece of cloth. His face was covered with patches of black and white. Most of his hair and eyebrows were burnt. It was as if he had crawled out of a fire. Huh? Sumo laughed. Is this senior apprentice brother a beggar under the kitchen god? Little beggar, I'll kill you. The Foundation establishment cultivator was embarrassed into anger. The Tian Luan line accepted all geniuses. Which disciple wasn't an outstanding figure en route nurturing peak back then? This Foundation establishment disciple was called Zhong Wukuan. It had already been 3 years since he entered the Foundation establishment realm. Although he had been bitterly cultivating for the past 3 years, he had not been able to make the slightest breakthrough. Originally, his days in the Sky Wheel Mountain were not very good. However, he had a core formation master, so he didn't have to worry too much. Today, he wanted to humiliate Sumo to vent the anger in his heart. However, not only did he fail, but he was also humiliated by Sumo in public. Naturally, he went crazy. Could it be that he couldn't even deal with a piece of trash who couldn't even reach the Foundation establishment stage? Thinking about himself, he had actually accomplished nothing. For a moment, he was overcome with sorrow. In the battle just now, he had held back. After all, they were from the same sect. Moreover, 5 Wheels also prohibited fights to the death between fellow disciples. This was the Celestial Wheel Mountain in broad daylight, with many people watching. However, people would always be hot-headed. Zhong Wukuan's heart was filled with grief and indignation. What joy is there in life? What fear is there in death? He was too useless. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was about to go berserk. Sumo, little beggar, give me your life. Foundation establishment cultivators always had 1 or 2 secret techniques that they were not willing to use easily. They were all techniques that could save their lives. At this moment, Zhong Wukuan secretly bit the tip of his tongue and directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Secret technique. Blood wheel technique. Zhong Wukuan shouted. Looking again, his entire body was instantly suffused with a blood-red light. At that moment, the other disciples watching the battle on Sky Wheel Mountain were all shocked. That was because blood-related secret techniques were not easily used. Although blood-type secret techniques could instantly increase one's strength, the power of the backlash was extremely great. If one was not careful, one's soul would be damaged. For cultivators, injuring their soul would most likely affect their future advancement. Unless it was a fight to the death, the disciples of 5 Wheels would never use blood-type secret techniques as a last resort. As for the blood wheel technique, it was one of the more overbearing techniques among the blood-type secret techniques, and its flaws were even greater. Senior Brother Zhong, Junior Brother Zhong, many people shouted, and even a few disciples stepped forward to stop Zhong Wukuan. However, there seemed to be an invisible force on Sky Wheel Mountain that froze them in the void. However, those disciples did not find the source of that force. At that moment, no one thought much about this matter. At this moment, Zhong Wukuan only had sumo in his eyes. There was nothing else. He had already activated his secret technique, and his cultivation was rising. At the same time, his entire person had entered a state of madness. Not far away, Sumo, who was holding the furious blade in her hand, could not help but change her expression slightly. Sumo's expression changed, not out of surprise, but out of coldness. Previously, no matter what Zhong Wukuan did, whether he wanted to humiliate Sumo or call her a little beggar, it did not matter. However, Sumo always remembered that they were from the same sect. She had a sense of propriety in her actions. During the battle just now, Sumo's heart was purely filled with a bit of ridicule. Otherwise, he would not have first slashed his sword and then thrown out the firewall pill. Sumo had not been serious all along. However, that foundation establishment, Zhong Wukuan, was reckless and actually used the blood will secret technique. Sumo did not know how to use that technique, but he had occasionally heard of it. It was a technique used to fight against mortal enemies. As soon as this technique was used, the meaning of the entire battle had completely changed. It meant that the foundation establishment disciple in front of him was going to kill him, even if he had to die. Sumo had never thought of being high profile in Five Wheels. It was just a coincidence that the founder valued him, so he obtained the Five Wheels knowledge and allowed him to enter the Wind Wheel lineage. From the moment he entered the sect until now, everything had been smooth for Sumo, except for the failure of the foundation establishment realm. Therefore, Sumo did not show much of his ruthless side, because there had never been a need for that. Sumo did not want to do anything decisive. Sumo had always been kind in his heart. Otherwise, he would not have hesitated to kill those who had been chased by the Selectan sect. However, in the end, Sumo understood. For many people, if you didn't kill them, they would kill you. Therefore, in the end, he killed the disciple of the Selectan sect. Today, Zhong Wukuan really wanted to kill Sumo. At the same time, his use of the blood secret technique also made Sumo want to kill him. Buzz, buzz. Sumo raised his eyebrows, and the furious immortal beheading sword in his hand instantly glowed with a blue light and began a buzz. Because the withering chi had already been injected. A nascent soul-level magic treasure was not a joke. Although Sumo had been fooling around just now, Sumo did not know Zhong Wukuan, nor did he have a grudge against him. But who cares? Sumo knew that if there was someone who truly wanted to kill you and took action against you, you would not be able to escape. Then, your best countermeasure was to kill the other party first, because the other party would never give up killing you and would always be waiting for an opportunity. And at this time, the most important problem was that Sumo had the ability to kill Zhong Wukuan. This was the key. Therefore, Sumo would not be lenient. Blood and chi soared to the sky. Zhong Wukuan's realm was actually close to the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm under the secret technique. For a battle of the Foundation Establishment realm, such an improvement was not easy. At the same time, Zhong Wukuan patted his storage bag, and a red light came out. It was actually a machete, and, at this time, it was stained with blood. Blood Slave Saber. The Heaven-Willed disciples who were watching the battle in the distance were shocked again. Blood Slave Saber. Using blood to nourish the saber and the saber as a slave. That was in order to become one with the saber and exert the greatest power. The cultivators fed the saber with their own blood every day. A Foundation Establishment level Blood Slave Saber was comparable to a core formation realm magic treasure. Kill. Zhong Wukuan waved the Blood Slave Saber and directly slashed at Sumo. Sumo's eyes narrowed slightly. Chapter 124. Meanwhile, the battle between Han Tian and the gray-robed elder was also extremely intense. The gray-robed elder's storage bag emitted a faint yellow gas. Within the yellow aura, a strange beast popped its head out of it. The beast had the head of a lion and the body of a leopard. It was covered in yellow fur. Its eyes were like copper bells, and there were long horns on its head. However, the horns were curved and flat, and one side had a blade like a scimitar. Chi, chi. The exotic beast breath was also yellow in color. In fact, the yellow gas was also poisonous and could cause hallucinations and paralysis. However, all the poisonous gas seemed to be ineffective against Han Tian. The beast did not look very ferocious. At this moment, none of the spectating disciples recognized this strange beast. However, the gray-robed elder made a strange sound. Chirp, chirp! That should be his beast-taming technique. Looking again, the monster suddenly rushed out of the yellow gas, its body like lightning, heading straight for Han Tian. Han Tian did not know what kind of beast it was. He swung the evil Een in his hand and smashed it at the exotic beast. Whoosh! However, the yellow-furred exotic beast did not retreat. Instead, it advanced. Moreover, Han Tian also saw clearly that the beast actually had a sickle-like tail. Poof! Roar! Han Tian smashed the evil Een, and the yellow-furred beast actually leaped and lowered its head slightly. Its horns were like cold blades, heading straight for the evil Een. The evil Een was a spirit species from another world, but it could not block the yellow-furred beast's horns. The two horns stabbed into the evil En's body. However, its momentum did not decrease, and it actually split the evil Een into 3 pieces. The evil Een screamed in pain. However, it was a spirit beast from another world. The moment it was split open, it had already turned into white smoke and dissipated. In essence, it was not in existence from the Pure Land. However, the gray-robed elder could no longer use spells to summon the evil Een in the future. The death of the evil Een was considered the end of his summoning technique. However, the yellow-furred beast did not slow down at all and continued charging towards Han Tian. Han Tian did not expect it to be even faster this time. The yellow-furred beast was actually so powerful. He hurriedly dodged. However, although he dodged the yellow-furred beast's horns, the tail blades swept towards him. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Han Tian's skills had their own weaknesses. Because his body was huge, his speed was relatively slow. Therefore, even though he tried his best to dodge, he was unable to completely avoid the tail blade. Puff! The blade hit Han Tian's lower abdomen. Fortunately, this slash wasn't too deep. If this slash landed, Han Tian would probably be chopped into 2 pieces. Even so, Han Tian's green robe was instantly stained with blood. Han Tian was taken aback. This was because, to be honest, Han Tian was the youngest disciple of the Windwheel Mountain before Sumo came. He was a little silly, so everyone naturally protected him. When had he ever been injured like this? This time, Han Tian was completely enraged. The redness in his eyes intensified. His green robes fluttered, and the golden light shone again. He ignored the blood flowing from his lower abdomen. Han Tian let out a thunderous roar. Evil creature, go die, gray-clothed old man. Han Tian waved his arm and punched for the 3rd time. This punch was even fiercer and more brutal than the one he had used on Mu Jinghong. First, a golden river appeared in the void. That was actually just the wind from Han Tian's fists. Many disciples hurriedly backed away. What kind of fist technique was that? Everyone's expression changed. Then, all the rivers converged into one and headed straight for the yellow-furred beast. The power of this punch caused the void of the entire Sky Wheel Mountain to tremble slightly. The power of the 3rd punch was not to be underestimated. That day, Mu Jinghong used an original leveled treasure to block Han Tian's 3rd punch. At this moment, the gray-robed elder seemed to remember something, because Han Tian's punches were getting more and more powerful. The power of each punch was multiplied. The power of this punch was multiple times more powerful than the 2nd punch. The fist of the golden dragon of the Holy Wheel. The gray-robed elder finally remembered Han Tian's fist technique, and his expression changed, because he didn't understand how the lost 5-wheel technique would reappear. Also, this was Han Tian's 3rd punch. The fist of the golden dragon of the Holy Wheel of a foundational cultivator could kill a completion-level cultivator. There was no doubt about that. The gray-robed elder was at the beginning stage of the completion level. In other words, Han Tian had the ability to kill him. This was something he had never thought about. But this was not important. The key was whether or not Han Tian could throw a fourth punch. If he could, then the gray-robed elder was no opponent of Han Tian's, and he would be committing suicide. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. The Tianlun master had always been shrewd. The gray-robed elder believed that all of this was within Yang Tianxiao's expectations. Could it be that the master had other motives for asking him to stop the wind-will disciple? But now is not the time for him to think. Han Tian's punch dodged the beast's blade and landed on the yellow-furred beast, but the yellow-furred beast was a yellow lion, a beast of the intermediate stage of the completion level. Its abilities, in reality, were not limited to its horn blade and tail blade. However, Han Tian's punch was far too dominating. This third punch was unleashed by Han Tian, and its power was even greater than before. The yellow poisonous gas was ineffective. He didn't give the beast too many chances to attack. Everything happened in an instant. The gray-robed elder was not Mu Jinghong. Luckily, the yellow lion was between him and Han Tian. This strange beast had saved its master. Boom! The golden light hung upside down like a rushing river. Then, the yellow lion let out an earth-shattering scream as it was smashed into a pile of meat in the air. Almost in an instant, the entire void of Tianlun Mountain was silent. Han Tian's punch was too shocking. At that moment, Han Tian's eyes were blood red, and the golden light on his body didn't dissipate. It seemed that only the sound of his breathing was echoing in the air. His abdomen was completely dyed red. The 8th disciple of the Wind Wheel sect became famous after one battle. The gray-robed elder stood in the air, dumbfounded, not knowing what to do. Of course, that was only for a moment. At this moment, Sumo's battle had entered the final stage. Because Zhong Wukuan's blood-slave blade had slashed down, Sumo narrowed her eyes and held the furious beheading sword. In the beginning, Sumo didn't move at all. Zhong Wukuan raised his foundational aura to its peak. At this moment, Zhong Wukuan could be said to have the fighting power of the intermediate stage of the foundational realm. His body was broken and emitted bloody light. The blood-slave blade was the light of hell. Zhong Wukuan was risking his life. However, Sumo really didn't move at the beginning. However, a faint white gas appeared on the furious beheading sword. That was the undying gas. Even if Sumo couldn't use its power safely, it was enough to kill people. At this moment, there was an inexplicable killing intent surging in Sumo's heart. It seemed that it was not only because Zhong Wukuan wanted to kill her, but there was also a kind of power guiding her. In the pill sea, the half of the white bone immortal root swayed gently. In the white gas, there was a trace of blood. Whoosh! Zhong Wukuan's blade was definitely the essence of his lifelong cultivation. Unfortunately, he met Sumo, who he wanted to kill. When the blade came, there would be blood. When the wind rose, the soul would be destroyed. At that moment, Sumo suddenly felt like she had a good idea. Zhong Wukuan's blade seemed to have blocked all the paths. However, Sumo actually dodged everything with a gentle step. Poof! Sumo raised her eyebrows. The furious beheading sword pierced through Zhong Wukuan's ribs and stabbed out diagonally, directly piercing Zhong Wukuan's Taoist heart. Whoosh! The entire sky wheel mountain instantly exploded. Chapter 125. Killing a fellow disciple. In any cultivation sect, this would be a heinous crime. Of course, Five Wolves sect was no exception. Though it wasn't the first time that someone killed a fellow disciple in 5 wheels, Sumo never did it so blatantly. Last time, in order to save Sumo, how many fellow disciples did Mu Jinghong kill? But nobody said out loud. Inside 5 wheels, there was something terrifying that couldn't be spoken of. This was the most interesting thing about it. There were many things to do in this world, but they couldn't be done openly. Even when Mu Jinghong killed a 5 wheels cultivator, he needed to be in sync and balanced. But this time, Sumo really crossed the line. Killing a fellow disciple. Many of the 5th wheel disciples saw it clearly. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, 3 figures flew out of Sky Wheel Mountain and stood at four corners with a gray-robed elder. East, west, south, and north surrounded Sumo and Han Tian. They were three core formation cultivators. All three of them were elders. Their robes were red, green, and white. The leader was Elder Dew from Sky Wheel Mountain. He was a middle-stage core formation cultivator. Dressed in green, he stared coldly at Han Tian and Sumo. The appearance of these three core formation cultivators was very sudden. They definitely represented the top power of Sky Wheel Mountain. Because in the entire Sky Wheel Mountain, other than the Seat of Honor, there were only the top 10 core formation cultivators. Today, 4 of them showed up at the same time. This in itself was not a small matter. A trap. Sumo's heart turned cold. It seemed that her killing the Foundation cultivator was the result that Sky Wheel Mountain wanted. These 3 cultivators should have been nearby for a long time. This was a trap. Sumo, how dare you? A mere meditational cultivator dared to kill a senior brother from the same sect. Elder Dew stared at Sumo with anger. The pressure of a core formation cultivator emitted from his body, pressing down like Mount Tai. At that moment, Sumo felt her body sink, as if she was tied up by an invisible rope. Although the undying chi in her Dan Si reacted immediately, it couldn't resist Elder Dew's pressure. One had to know that Elder Dew was a level higher than Elder Grey-Robed. Core formation against chi refinement. That was an instant kill. Wow. Sumo spat out a mouthful of blood. Against a core formation cultivator, Sumo had no way of resisting. He almost dropped the furious decapitation sword in his hand. My junior brother, Emo, Sean. At this moment, Han Tian roared. In a flash, he appeared in front of Sumo. At the same time, a strange golden light flashed on his body and enveloped Sumo. The pressure on Sumo's body dissipated in an instant. 8th senior brother. Sumo looked at Han Tian's tall figure and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Little junior brother, don't be afraid. Whoever wants to kill you, I will die first. Han Tian roared. At this moment, his abdomen was bleeding profusely, but he still stood proudly in front of Sumo. Han Tian had long forgotten about his injuries. He only knew that if he wanted to touch his junior brother, he would have to step over his dead body first. 8th senior brother. Sumo's heart warmed. He knew that his 8th senior brother would do what he said. At the same time, looking at the people from Tianluan, his heart turned colder. He knew that these people wanted him dead today. In fact, they were not only targeting him, but the Windwheel clan as well. But why was that? Sumo pondered. Looking again, Han Tian stood in the air, then spread his arms wide. A long black rod appeared in his hand. The black rod was 3 meters long and as thick as a bowl. It was completely black and had dark light flowing around it. It looked very heavy and was covered with strange inscriptions. Windwheel clan, how dare you be so arrogant? The one who spoke was the elder in red. Then he raised one hand and a ray of green light shot out. What he took out was a green stone the size of a palm. However, the green stone grew in size with the wind. In an instant, it became 3 to 4 meters tall and 6 meters wide. It was sharp at the top and wide at the bottom, like a small green mountain. Suppress. The red-robed core formation elder snorted coldly. A core formation cultivator controlled a core formation treasure. Its power didn't need to be described. Even though Han Tian had the ability to fight above his level, he was only at the advanced stage of the foundational level. Now, the completion level elder was about to suppress Han Tian. Though the green stone wasn't enough to kill, it was enough to make Han Tian lose his ability to fight. However, everything was out of the elder in Red's expectation. With a roar, Han Tian leaped forward and swung the dark gold long rod in his hand. The black wind swirled as if it was trying to stir up the sky. That long rod was far too ferocious. The green stone dropped and the black rod rose. The two treasures collided head-on, and the outcome was clear in an instant. Ichom, pa, boom. Just now, the elder in red had a cold smile on his face. He naturally recognized Han Tian's spiritual power, but his green dragon stone had the power of a dragon and a mountain. It was definitely not an ordinary object. How could a core formation treasure like that be defended against with brute force? However, a loud explosion reverberated in the sky. Looking again, the green light in the air scattered like rain. Ah! The elder in red's expression changed, because his green dragon stone was smashed into pieces by Han Tian's long rod. Original level treasure, the elder in red said, because that was the only possibility. Only a magic treasure of the nascent soul realm could shatter his azure dragon stone. This idiot from the Windmill Mountain had an original level treasure to protect himself. Whoosh! By now, more and more disciples were spectating the battle. It wasn't a secret that Sumo had an original level treasure. Even the Sword of Demise couldn't unleash its full potential in Sumo's hands. Therefore, when Sumo took out the Blade of Fury, no one was surprised. But Han Tian also had a treasure of the original level that made things different. The Windmill Mountain had an original level treasure. Didn't they say that the Windmill Mountain was extremely poor? Today, Han Tian's battle was quietly changing the way the five realms looked at the Windmill Mountain. A cultivator who could fight against a completion-level cultivator with his physical body had an original level treasure. This, apart from Elder Du, the other four core formation realm cultivators could not help but frown. This Han Tian was definitely not easy to deal with. Sumo, on the other hand, was excited. She began to think. Could it be that second senior brother wasn't bluffing? Could someone from the Windmill Mountain really kill someone from the Five Wheels? Then my great Windmill Mountain would be powerful. The Windmill Mountain is indeed unfathomable. Elder Du's lips curled up as he thought to himself. As expected, everything was within Chief Tian's expectations. Han Tian, the eighth disciple of the Windmill Mountain, even a simple-minded brute had such combat prowess. Wouldn't the other members of the Windmill Mountain be even more powerful? Elder Yin, take this young man down. Elder Du ordered. This time, it was the elder in white who made a move. The white-robed elder had quite a bearing, and his appearance was very scholarly. He formed a hand seal with both hands, but didn't seem to exert any force. However, his hand seals were extremely complicated, yet they were smooth and natural. The white-robed elder smiled warmly and then shouted, "Heavenly Icebind." Sumo was puzzled. What kind of spell was that? He didn't see any spell light, nor did he feel any fluctuation of spiritual energy. However, at that moment, a white light suddenly appeared around Han Tian and Sumo's feet. The white light was like a net, but also like ripples. Moreover, the surrounding air suddenly turned cold. Suddenly, Sumo felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. With Han Tian and him as the center, layers of ice appeared in a radius of 10 feet. A spell formation? Sumo's expression changed. He didn't know anything about spell formations. However, Han Tian laughed out loud and placed a long rod in front of him. The ice was like a wave, as if it was going to trap them. Han Tian suddenly slammed the rod in the air. The runes on the rod suddenly emitted a strange light. Break! Chapter 126. Following Han Tian's shout, countless runes appeared on the dark gold staff. When those runes encountered the white-clothed elder's ice flowers, they instantly turned into raging flames. Chi-chi, the ice flowers melted, leaving wisps of green smoke in the air. The black gold rod stood in the air like a stabilizing pillar, directly breaking through the white-robed elder's spell. Oh! A look of surprise flashed across the white-robed elder's eyes. It seemed that the dark gold rod was not ordinary. However, he did not panic. Instead, his hand seals changed continuously. His array formation could still be deduced. Looking again, the wisps of green smoke rose in spirals, and then suddenly turned into wind blades. With a sizzling sound, it swept toward Han Tian and Sumo. In an instant, it was as if there were tens of thousands of flying swords attacking from the void. It was a kind of indiscriminate attack spell. It was Han Tian's turn to change his expression. He was completely clueless about formations. However, he knew that his black gold rod could break through some arrays, because it was a weapon that sixth senior brother had specially forged for him. What Han Tian was least afraid of was a head-on battle, but what he was most afraid of were the variations of various spells. Because Han Tian's brain couldn't keep up. His cultivation technique was mainly focused on his fist and staff. The white-robed core formation elder in front of him just so happened to be a formation master. Just now, Han Tian's black gold long rod released runes that broke the ice flower. The white-clothed elder could already tell that the black gold rod could break the 5 elements formation. Thus, he immediately deduced the formation and found another path. Windblade. Actually, this was just a transformation of the 5 elements, but it was very difficult for Han Tian to deal with. In fact, there were runes on the staff as well. However, Han Tian panicked. Han Tian swung his rod like a windmill. He wanted to use this clumsy method to block the wind blades. But how was that possible? The wind was formless. Wind blades of the completion level were even harder to defend against. Han Tian's staff danced like a wheel and indeed blocked many wind blades. However, it couldn't be airtight. Chi. Several wind blades pierced through Han Tian's defenses and landed on his body. The wind blades were like blades, and within a breath's time, Han Tian had been struck several times. He was injured in many places and was drenched in blood. Han Tian was an idiot. Although he was injured, he was still brandishing his long rod. Moreover, he protected Sumo with all his might. Although the wind blades were everywhere, they didn't hurt Sumo at all. 8th senior brother. Sumo was behind him, and she really wanted to help. However, he couldn't interfere in this battle at all. Because though Han Tian stopped the completion-leveled Chi, Sumo couldn't make a move. The battle itself brought with it an invisible pressure. The furious slaying immortal sword with a nascent soul magic treasure. But now, in Sumo's hands, it was like scrap metal. At this time, the importance of one's realm was highlighted. No matter how talented Sumo was, it was useless if her cultivation level was not high enough. Trapped dragon. For prison. At this moment, the white-robed core formation elder smiled as if victory was already in his grasp. His hand seal changed again. Looking again, 7 pillars of light suddenly appeared between the wind blades, trapping Han Tian and Su Mo within them. At the same time, as if they were resonating, the pillars emitted light and connected. This was the light prison array. How could Han Tian do this? However, his staff was unable to break the light pillar at all. The pillar was like water, able to use softness to overcome hardness. The rod swept over and instantly dispersed. Then it reformed. However, the restriction it placed on Han Tian and Sumo didn't decrease at all. At the same time, the 7 pillars of light converged. Whether it was Han Tian or Sumo, they both felt an endless amount of pressure. Currently, Han Tian's eyes were blood red. The rod was ineffective, which made Han Tian anxious. The situation before him didn't give him much of a choice. Phew! The pillar of light approached. The cage was less than 5 feet away. Han Tian protected Sumo as the redness in his eyes intensified. At the same time, the gold light on his body was like a flame. At that moment, others couldn't even see the blood on Han Tian's body. All they could see was the gold light. With a wave of his hand, Han Tian tossed the dark gold rod into the air and slowly raised his right fist. Instantly, a golden dragon coiled around Han Tian's entire arm. The fist of the golden dragon. The elder in gray was the first to change his expression, because he had just experienced Han Tian's fist technique. Could this windmill idiot really be able to punch out a 4th time? Legend has it that the fist of the golden dragon is extremely powerful, but it also consumes a lot of energy. Could a foundational advanced stage really punch out a 4th time? However, it seemed like Han Tian was really accumulating energy for the 4th punch. This 4th punch can definitely kill a completion-level cultivator. The elder in gray understood. This punch will kill without a doubt. Therefore, the elder in gray even subconsciously stepped back. Looking again, the veins on Han Tian's face were bulging, and his entire face looked like it was filled with blood. If he punched out this punch, he would definitely kill a completion-level cultivator. But right now, he had no other choice. Because if he didn't throw this punch, then he and Sumo would be trapped in the white robe core formation. Han Tian roared into the sky and was about to punch out with his right fist. Plus, at that moment, a wind will seem to be opening between his brows. But right at that moment, a delicate shout came from the sky. Eighth junior brother, stop. To Han Tian, this shout was an absolute celestial decree, because it was the seventh senior sister of the windmill by Yifeng's voice. Along with seventh senior sister windmill's voice, 3 figures landed on the field. One of them was a scholar in white. He waved his hand, and the 7 pillars of light disappeared. The other was a skinny black-robed cultivator, while the other was by Yifeng, who was dressed in blue. Second senior brother, third senior brother, and 7th senior sister. At that moment, Sumo's eyes brightened and her heart relaxed. The windmill's people had finally arrived. 7th senior sister. The reality was, the one who felt the most pressure just now wasn't Sumo. It was Han Tian, because he was ordered to protect Sumo. If something happened, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. Just now, he had already prepared himself to die. Just now, Han Tian was like a god of war. If 7th senior sister didn't stop him, who knows who would have died if he threw out his 4th punch. And when he saw his senior brother and senior sister, Han Tian actually burst into tears. 2nd senior brother, 3rd senior brother, 7th senior sister, they are bullying me. Sob. Han Tian wasn't faking it. He was really crying. A man that was over a meter tall cried when he wanted to. He no longer had the fierceness he had when he was protecting Sumo. 8th, don't cry. Bai Yifeng comforted Han Tian. 3rd senior brother, Hua Kei, came over and tossed a Dan into Han Tian's mouth. 8th, good job. 3rd senior brother patted Han Tian's waist. Have a good rest. At that moment, 2nd senior brother, Scholar Du, held a folding fan in his hand and glanced at the 5th wheel disciples on Sky Wheel Mountain. It should be noted that there were many disciples gathered on Sky Wheel Mountain. They had heard about the battles in the other rounds as well. More and more people came to watch the battle. The windmill's people had arrived. But so what? There wasn't a single core formation cultivator on Sky Wheel Mountain. However, how did that white-robed scholar manage to break the core formation spell in such a short time? None of the spectators could understand what was happening. Scholar Du looked at the 4 core formation cultivators of Sky Wheel and sneered. Chapter 127. Could it be that you really think that we, Windmill, have no one? The words of the Windwheel's 2nd senior brother, Du Shuxing, reverberated throughout the entire Sky Wheel Mountain. At this time, Yang Tian Shao, the chief of the Sky Wheel Temple, who was sitting in the Sky Wheel Mountain cave, was still playing chess by himself. To Yang Tian Shao, playing chess by himself seemed to be very interesting. Du Shuxing's words were also clearly transmitted into his ears. Although the chief monk of the Sky Wheel Mountain didn't leave the cave residence, he knew everything about the Sky Wheel Mountain. Oh, hearing Scholar Du's words, Yang Tian Shao couldn't help but smile. He held a black chess piece in his hand and muttered to himself, Core formation, Tao rhythm. This windwheel number 2 seems to have formed his core a long time ago. Yang Tian Shao only said this sentence before continuing to play chess peacefully. The chess game was still tense and murderous. The Taoist rhythm of core formation. At this time, the 4 great elders of the Tianlun sect, who were standing in 4 directions, naturally heard Scholar Du's method. This was a show of force. Before this, Mu Jinghong was the only one in the entire 5 wheels who could unleash core formation Taoist rhyme. He did not expect the 2nd senior brother of the Windwheel Mountain to be able to do it as well. Sure enough, everyone in the Windwheel lineage is domineering. Elder Du said sarcastically that Sumo killed her fellow disciples on the Sky Wheel Mountain, which is a great crime of the 5 wheels. We want to arrest him and punish him. However, the Windwheel faction actually swore to protect him. Could it be that your Windwheel faction disregards the rules of the 5 wheels? 5 wheels sect rules. Scholar Du looked at Elder Du and sneered. To think that you, Elder Du, still have the nerve to talk about the 5 wheels sect rules? It's true that my junior brother killed a Foundation establishment cultivator. However, there was a reason for this. Let's see who will break the rules first. Scholar Du pointed at the gray-clothed elder with the paper fan in his hand. Elder Chin, may I ask why you are blocking the path of my two junior brothers? As a foundation-building cultivator, Scholar Du actually dared to point at a core formation elder with a paper fan. This was already a great disrespect. However, it was obvious that second senior brother Windmill wanted to act like this. Although Du Shusheng didn't have much contact with the Tian Luan core formation cultivators, he knew all of them. Elder Chin was one of the weakest core formation cultivators on Mount Tianluan. The gray-clothed Elder Chin coldly said, "The wind will disciple threaten to kill, my heaven will disciple. So I made a move to teach him a lesson." Hee. Scholar Du retracted his paper fan and patted his palm. What a good threat to kill your Tian Luan disciple. Elder Chin, you have been in the five-wheel world for so many years. Don't you know that there are fools in the wind-wheel world? Scholar Du looked around and said loudly, "My wind-wheel lineage has lost many disciples. Who doesn't know about five wheels? Back then, my 8th senior martial brother injured his brain while practicing martial arts. He is publicly acknowledged by the five wheels as an idiot." What Scholar Du said was true. Everyone on five wheels knew that Han Tian was an idiot. That's why my 8th junior brother is foolish and blabbermouthed. Everything was pardonable. When he said that he wanted to kill a Tian Luan disciple, he must have been muddle-headed for a moment. Let me ask you, did he make a move? Scholar Du looked at the gray-robed Elder Chin. The gray-robed Elder Chin was speechless. This was because Han Tian indeed didn't make a move. Elder Chin was ordered by the head to intercept Han Tian and Sumo. However, at this time, he certainly couldn't say that it was Yang Tianxiao's order. Scholar Du smiled faintly. All of this was within his calculations. Although he didn't see everything with his own eyes just now, he could more or less guess what happened. He was even sure that everything was arranged by Yang Tianxiao. Why aren't you saying anything, Elder Chin? Du Shusheng pressed on step by step. My five-will sex rules, in addition to not killing fellow disciples. Don't forget that there is another rule. You can't bully the weak. There was indeed such a rule in the Five Wheels sect. However, this rule could only be regarded as a facade to show fairness and justice. However, in the cultivation world, the strong preyed on the weak. This was the law of the jungle. However, at this time, no one could say that Scholar Du was wrong when he threw out this rule. Among my two junior martial brothers, one is only at the late stage of foundation establishment, and the other is only at the peak of the 9th level of chi refinement. One is an idiot, the other has only been in the sect for less than 2 years. Are these two worthy of the Tian Luan sect, sending a completion level elder to suppress and kill them? Scholar Du's tone was stern. Nonsense. What do you mean by suppress and kill? I merely saw that the Windwheel sect is lawless and negligent in disciplining their disciples. That's why I kindly taught them to prevent the Windwheel sect from withering, and eventually there would be no one left. The gray-robed Elder Chin's lips twitched. Could it be that, as a completion-level elder, I am not allowed to teach the younger generation? Elder Chin's words were reasonable, because even Scholar Du's level was one level lower than Elder Chin's. According to seniority, he should also address Elder Chin as martial uncle. Teach. Hee. Scholar Du sneered. The Tian Luan Mountain sure is powerful. So, when you teach your disciples, they fight to the death and summon spiritual beasts. What's more, Scholar Du slapped his palm with his paper fan. What's more, they used the Bloodwill's secret technique to forcefully increase their cultivation level in order to kill my junior brother. Even if he was facing a mortal enemy, he would not use blood magic lightly. To me, using blood spells against a fellow sect member is a crime worthy of death. If my junior brother didn't have the nascent soul-level treasure given by the Patriarch to protect him, I'm afraid the one who died today would be my junior brother. How do you know everything that happened just now? Elder Du interrupted. Could it be that you arrived a long time ago? Why didn't you show yourself? Oh, ha! Scholar Du couldn't help but let out a hollow laugh. He was waiting for this. Elder Du, how did I know? Of course, my junior brother sent a message to me. If I came a long time ago, how could I let you hurt my two junior brothers? As for why I came a long time ago, but didn't show myself, I'd like to ask the elders about it. This is the Tianlun Mountain. You are all completion level cultivators. If you stomp your feet, the entire 5 wheels will shake. But how can my junior brother kill a foundation building cultivator right under your eyes? Could it be that you're trying to frame my wind wheel progeny to frame me? A Chia refinement cultivator killed a foundation building cultivator who used the blood wheel technique. How unimaginable. Sadly, that foundation building cultivator died without knowing the reason. Scholar Du sneered. Wow. The moment Scholar Du's words came out, the entire Tianlun Mountain was in an uproar. Because Scholar Du's words were very provocative. Moreover, the most important thing was that the 5 Wheels sect was in a state of disunity, and many things were confusing. Anything could happen? In particular, the few disciples who had wanted to stop Zhong Wukuan just now were even more shocked. Because earlier, they were indeed locked by an unknown force. Otherwise, they really wanted to stop Zhong Wukuan. That force must have belonged to their own sect's elders. Plus, right after Sumo killed Zhong Wukuan, these elders appeared. Actually, Scholar Du was right. If these elders wanted to save Zhong Wukuan from Sumo, it would have been a piece of cake. Yet, Zhong Wukuan died. His death was sudden and somewhat abrupt. At this moment, inside the Tianlun Mountains cave, Yang Tianxiao heard everything clearly. He couldn't help but smile. Windwell Scholar, you live up to your reputation. But then his face turned cold, and he whispered, "Kill." Then he placed a piece in his hand, and one side of the chessboard was surrounded by a large area. Chapter 128. The word "kill" was an order from the Tianlun Master to Elder Du. Elder Du was the only one on Sky Wheel Mountain who could hear him. Then, Elder Du looked at Scholar Du and sneered. You are misleading us. The Wind Wheel clan killed our disciples on Tianlun Mountain. How can we let you off? Today, we will take you down first. Do it. Whoosh! Elder Du rebuked him angrily. For rays of completion, spiritual chi shot through the sky. This time, it was not a simple aura, but the true power of a core formation. Whoosh! At this moment, all the spectating disciples on Tianlun Mountain stepped back uncontrollably. They could not handle that kind of pressure. Moreover, at that moment, the entire 5 Wheels sect knew about this battle. This battle shocked the 5 Wheels. This was a battle that had not happened in thousands of years. This meant that there were 2 rounds of battle. Tianlun against Fengluni. On Yangjin Peak, Fatty Guanxiong yawned and muttered to himself, one has been arrogant for too long, the other has been patient for too many years. This battle is going to be interesting. On Earthwheel Mountain, Yin Zhongmo frowned when he heard about the Battle of Tianlun. That was because he knew Yang Tianxiao, the chief of the Sky Wheel Temple, too well. Every step that Yang Tianxiao took had a purpose. He would never do something meaningless. Everyone on Tianlun Mountain was the executor of Yang Tianxiao's will. However, Yin Zhongmo still could not figure out what the Tianlun clan wanted to do. Windwheel? Kill Sumo? Neither seemed to be the case. However, if it was to disrupt the situation, the current situation was a bit too much. After all, Tianlun Mountain only had 10 core formation masters. At the same time, Yin Zhongmo did not understand why Feng Luan suddenly became so unyielding. This was not Feng Luan's usual style. This battle was really worth pondering. Yin Zhongmo could only wait and see. On the Firewheel Mountain, Ruan Mulin, the first seat, was stunned when he heard about the battle on the Skywheel Mountain. The Wind Wheel clan dares to go against Tianlun Mountain? Sumo killed a Heaven Wheel foundational cultivator? Ruan Mulin simply couldn't believe it, while Elder Hong, who was standing next to him, narrowed his eyes. In Elder Hong's eyes, Ruan Mulin was like an idiot. Water Wheel Mountain. Shui Linglong was lying on the cloud bed. Her jade-like body was half covered by a veil. Next to her was a seemingly strong male cultivator who was sleeping soundly. However, the male cultivator's eyes were black and his lips were green, as if he had been poisoned. Shui Linglong, on the other hand, was in high spirits and her eyes were filled with spring. The Windwheel faction is finally going to make a move? Shui Linglong's eyes narrowed, then she floated up. In that instant, her gauze robe fell off. It was an almost perfect body. Her curves were exquisite and flawless. Shui Linglong was truly a woman made of water. However, it was unknown how many male cultivators had died at her hands. However, in just an instant, Shui Linglong put away her endless charm. With a wave of her hand, a light blue dress appeared on her body. Her charm was still there, and she was even more elegant. However, perhaps Shui Linglong had yet to receive the teachings of founding Master Water Wheel. She muttered to herself, "When the wind wheel rises, it is time for me to return." Founding Master UG, is what you said true? Will you really come back? When the wind wheel rises, it is time for me to return. The corner of Shui Linglong's mouth curled up. That smile was really captivating. However, the male cultivator on the bed could no longer be seen. At this moment, Shui Linglong bent down, stretched out her slender, jade-like hand, and gently stroked the male cultivator's cheek. Her eyes were filled with endless love and tenderness. At that moment, if someone else saw it, they would definitely think that Shui Linglong loved him to the bone and would never leave him even in life or death. However, at the next moment, Shui Linglong's eyes suddenly turned cold. Puff! Shui Linglong formed a claw with one hand, and her 5 slender fingers directly pierced through the male cultivator's head. The moment her fingers pierced through the head, the male cultivator suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with horror. That nameless male cultivator would never have dreamed that. That spring night was endlessly charming and gentle. The woman who gave him pleasure and allowed him to do whatever he wanted turned out to be a devil. Unfortunately, he couldn't even say a single word. His eyes were filled with horror, and he was frozen in death. He didn't even make a sound. At this moment, there was no trace of emotion in Shui Linglong's eyes. Shui Linglong's hand emitted a white light. Looking again, that male cultivator's body rapidly shrank, and in an instant, he turned into a dried corpse. Everything of the male cultivator was absorbed by Shui Linglong. Shui Linglong seemed to have become a little more beautiful. This cauldron had already become dregs. Then, her red lips slightly opened. Whoosh! A blue flame spurted out from her mouth, and that male corpse was directly incinerated. Without a trace. Inside Shui Linglong's cave, there was only a faint fragrance. Unfortunately, no one could see that scene, otherwise they would definitely be extremely shocked. Shui Linglong very charmingly licked her red lips and softly said again, "Every night, it depends on the great Tao. Ancestor UG, disciple will be waiting for your return." Each chakra and each meridian had a different performance. At this moment outside the Mountain Gate Cave, Bai Lai, who had just come out lazily, glanced at the direction of the Sky Wheel Mountain and actually stretched his waist. It's getting cold. Because he only saw that outside the Mountain Gate Cave, a tree had already begun to shed its leaves. The Sky Wheel Mountain. The 4-core formation cultivators exerted their strength at the same time. However, the Windwheel cultivators showed no fear. Second senior brother held a paper fan in his hand, calmly looking at the 4-core formation cultivators of the Sky Wheel Mountain. Third senior brother Hua K clasped his hands behind his back, and his eyelids drooped. He actually seemed to be a little sleepy. Seventh senior sister by Yifeng was a bit more normal. She formed a seal with her hands, then knelt on one knee and pressed in the void. The palm of her hand emitted a blue light. Then, instantly, with Han Tian and Sumo as the center, endless blue light also spread out. The blue light was connected like the 8 trigrams. Within it, runes were jumping. 8th brother, junior brother, don't come out of the array later. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Okay. Han Tian was very obedient and nodded. He had taken the 3rd senior brother's elixir, and at this moment, the injuries on his body were no longer serious. Originally, those were only flesh wounds. 7th senior sister, be careful, Sumo said. At this moment, He put away the furious immortal beheading sword and took out the broken bamboo pole. At this crucial moment, he felt that holding the bamboo pole was more stable. Indeed, with the bamboo pole in hand, Sumo felt a sense of connection with it, although the bamboo pole was not a nascent soul-level Dharma treasure. Seventh senior sister smiled and nodded. "If you surrender, you'll be spared," Elder Du said at the end. "The Windwheel Mountain has been bullied by others. For hundreds of years, why should we be afraid?" Du Shuxing's words carried a trace of sadness. Indeed, the Windwheel Mountain had endured for too long. Stubborn. Elder Du did not say anything else. Instead, he raised his hand and took out a yellow light that went straight toward Du Shuxing. It was a yellow triangular flag. When the yellow flag appeared, Bai Yifeng frowned. "Second senior brother, be careful. That's the yellow heaven flag." "The yellow heaven flag? How dare you show off a small yellow flag?" Du Shuxing sneered, then casually threw the paper fan in his hand into the air and shouted, "Fall!" Chapter 129. It was going to be published today. It should be said that it was still a little sudden. I originally thought that it would be published in a few days. Here, I would first thank my editor, Yulong, from the bottom of my heart. Sometimes, I don't even know where to start. In the past 2 months, I have always felt that I have let down many people. The editor, the readers, and the friends who have always supported Mountains and Rivers. To be honest, the results of this book are somewhat out of my expectations. At present, it looks very, very tragic. Perhaps I don't remember the miserable suffering of 9 coffins back then, but I always thought that incarnation of one treasury should be better than 9 coffins. After all, this book has received much more recommendations than 9 coffins. However, at present, the two are probably on par. However, there's one thing that incarnation of one treasury definitely surpasses 9 coffins. That is, it is published today, and it is less than 300,000. I wrote a whole one. 3 million for 9 coffins to be published. How did I endure it back then? I also often ask myself. The design of this book is actually a sister story to 9 coffins, but everything has not unfolded yet. Slow heating might be my Achilles heel. I don't know how many readers will be able to read to the end. Books are not easy to write. For a long time, Mountains and Rivers have been wandering left and right. What does everyone like to read? What can I write? This is the question I often ask myself. In the struggle, I might be lost. Recently, I often feel old. When I scanned through the bestseller lists, I was amazed at how imaginative they were. And I might not be able to do it. But no matter what, Mountains and Rivers will continue to write. Although I know that there will not be so many 5 years in life. Mountains and Rivers will finish writing the story of incarnation of one treasury. After thinking about it, I will still write the story I can write, whether it is good or bad. Thinking this way, I feel relieved and happy. Perhaps my words would flow smoothly instead of to the left or to the right. Finally, thank those friends who have never left, especially those who have read the book of Mountains and Rivers since 9 coffins. I will do my best not to disappoint you. I know that many people read Incarnation of One Treasury because of the 9 coffins. Actually, in the world of One Treasury, there should be stories that you still like, people that you still look forward to. Don't worry, I will definitely make you satisfied with this. This was also the reason for Right Izong. The 9 coffins were too rushed in the end. As for subscriptions, I didn't dare to ask for more. Everyone, please subscribe if you can. Mountains and Rivers will thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please give the lost Mountains and Rivers a little motivation. After all, I need all of your support in order to walk down this path. Chapter 130. Scholar Du had always carried his paper fan with him. Usually, he opened and closed it and did not see anything special about it. When Sumo first met second senior brother, she had always thought that second senior brother was just trying to be cultured. However, today, when the paper fan was being used in the air, it actually released a ray of green light. Moreover, the green light was extremely powerful. It was like a green thunderbolt. Boom! Crack! the green light hit the yellow heaven flag. The collision of the green light and the yellow flag created a dazzling display of light and thunder. Elder Dew's yellow heaven flag was a top-notch core formation Dharma treasure. It could summon the wind and rain, as well as many thunder techniques and Dharma arrays. In Elder Dew's hands, its power was definitely not inferior to a nascent soul Dharma treasure. However, Scholar Dew's paper fan seemed to be even more powerful. After the two collided, the green light dissipated. However, at the same time, Elder Dew's yellow heaven flag actually rolled up and was about to fall. Elder Dew's expression changed. What kind of secret was hidden in Scholar Dew's fan? Was my Dharma treasure going to fall just because he said so? Of course, Elder Dew could not let the yellow heaven flag fall. However, when he secretly activated the spell, it was useless. The yellow heaven flag seemed to have become a dead object. Without any spirituality, it fell straight into the air. Surprised, Elder Dew waved his hand and used his spiritual power to retrieve the yellow heaven flag. However, he did not feel anything wrong. This was because the moment the yellow heaven flag returned to his hand, it returned to normal. What's going on? Elder Dew thought to himself. He had never encountered such a thing before. However, he could not see through Scholar Dew's fan. At that moment, Scholar Dew waved his hand and the fan returned to his hand. Elder Dew, if I say so, it will fall. What do you think? Scholar Dew smiled. Elder Dew scoffed. If you say so, it will fall. Could it be the wind wheel's demonic technique? Wind wheel's demonic technique. Ha ha! Scholar Dew suddenly laughed. However, his laughter was tinged with sorrow and anger. The five wheels opened a mountain for 30,000 years. Unfortunately, time was shrouded in dust. Time was hard to come by. Many true methods were lost. I can't believe that the five-wheel secret technique can be called a demonic technique. How sad and lamentable. Du Jingyan, then I'll let you try the wind wheel Yao art again. Second Shixiang Du Shu Sheng shouted Elder Dew's real name. Clearly, he didn't hold any sentiments. As he spoke, Du Shu Sheng drew a line in the air with one hand, forming a semicircle. The semicircle was like a bow. At the same time, Scholar Dew's other hand rested the paper fan on the semicircle. It looked like he was drawing a bow in the sky. However, second senior brother Du Shusheng was dressed in a scholarly white robe and looked a little comical. However, his expression suddenly turned cold. Windmill, frightening, air, arrow. Whoosh, whoosh, there was no bowstring in the air, but Du Shusheng loosened his grip. The paper fan actually turned into a white streak of light that shot toward Elder Dew like a divine arrow. At this moment, everyone present was amazed by Du Shusheng's means. Elder Dew's expression changed slightly when he saw the paper fan flying toward him, because in that instant, he felt an unprecedented pressure. Elder Dew was an elder in the middle stage of the core formation realm. There were not many things that could make him feel pressured. Elder Dew raised the yellow sky flag in his hand again and turned into a huge yellow screen that was dozens of feet wide, blocking in front of him. However, this was only Elder Dew's first move. At the same time, his hands rapidly formed a seal. Behind the yellow screen, a cloud of gray air suddenly appeared. Inside the gray air, a stone statue was hidden. The stone statue was not the statue of a human. Its face was that of an ancient beast that looked like a human, but was not. Its eyes were ferocious, and its fangs were exposed. The entire stone statue crouched in the air. An ancient aura emanated from its body. The ancient Taowu statue. When Du Shusheng saw this, he couldn't help but admire it. The true form of the ancient Taowu statue originated from a mythical beast of the five wheels. That beast was originally the Saint Wheel of Patriarch Five Wheels, but its lifespan had come to an end. Later on, its lifespan ran out, and Sheng Luan sealed a remnant of its soul in an ancient stone. However, the stone statue later disappeared, leaving behind only a summoning spell, the ancient Taowu statue. At crucial moments, the Five Wheels disciples could use spells to summon the ancient statue to defend against attacks. In the entire Five Wheels, there were only a handful of cultivators who could use this spell. It was a rather powerful defensive spell. Even Du Shusheng didn't know how to use it. Chi Boom! Elder Du's spell had indeed played a key role. This was because the yellow sky flag screen could not block the paper fan arrow light at all. When the arrow light encountered the yellow screen, it seemed to pierce through the clouds and was not blocked at all. The yellow sky flag that Du Shusheng had called down was useless against the paper fan. Boom! The second boom was when the arrow light hit the ancient Taowu statue. For a moment, white light and green radiance dispersed like smoke and dust. Layers of air waves surged like the sea. This collision was even more powerful than Han Tian's third punch. When they looked again, Elder Du hurriedly retreated. This was because the ancient Taowu statue had instantly shattered. However, its shattering also caused Du Shusheng's paper fan arrow light to suddenly disperse and fly backward. The void shook. All the disciples who were watching the battle were shaken to the core. This was definitely a battle between core formation cultivators. In these two clashes, it seemed like Du Shusheng from the Windmill sect had the upper hand. The Windmill sect was actually this powerful. Du Shusheng was definitely not at the foundational stage. At this moment, Su Mo was even more shaken to the core. Even though she was protected by 7th Senior Sister in the array, she could still feel the power of this battle. The paper fan flew back. Du Shusheng sneered at Elder Du. This Daoist spell of yours is not bad. Currently, Du Shusheng was still at the foundational stage. However, in both attacks, he was stronger than Elder Du now. He was even sneering and commenting that he was much stronger than core formation cultivators. Where would the 4 core formation elders of the Heaven Wheel sect put their faces? When Elder Du retreated just now, his face was already filled with determination. He could not continue fighting Du Shusheng like this. Get into formation, Elder Du yelled. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands. Behind him, a green radiance appeared. Inside the green radiance, the shape of a dragon could be vaguely seen. The dragon was half coiled and half crouched, yet it was also threatening. It was the soul of the Azure Dragon. The Windmill sect is unfathomable. This was young Tianxiao's evaluation. Therefore, in Elder Du's eyes, every member of the Windmill sect was dangerous. The so-called idiots all had the ability to kill core formation cultivators. Today, Du Shusheng was even stronger than him. The Windmill sect, which had their own special abilities, could not be underestimated. Since the Skywheel sect had sent out 4 core formation cultivators, they had to unleash their full potential. This was what they had planned to do since the beginning. Otherwise, the 4 of them wouldn't have stood in 4 different directions. However, they didn't expect to form the array so quickly. At this moment, they were all making hand seals, and different totem souls rose behind them. Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. The 4 spirits were lifelike and overflowing with spiritual energy. At this moment, the 4 core formation cultivators sealed the entire space. The 5 people of the Windmill sect were completely trapped in this array. However, after 7th Senior Sister by Yifeng glanced at it, she sneered in disdain. The 4 spirits' divine array. Elders, isn't your array a bit shabby? Chapter 131. Tian Luan against Feng Luan. That was definitely a battle that the 5 wheels hadn't seen in thousands of years. All the forces in the 5 wheels understood that this was another turning point in the fate of the 5 wheels. 10,000 years ago, a great chaos caused the 5 wheels sect to suffer a great loss. Where would it lead the 5 wheels sect this time? This was only the beginning. However, there was no construction without destruction. Today's 5 wheels were too old to go back to. Only by removing the rotten could they regenerate. This was a path, but the key was who would do it. Who was the rotten and who was the new? Tian Luan, Earth Luan, or Fire Luan, Earth Luan, or even Wind Luan? Originally, it wasn't surprising that the Tian Luan ranked first. However, the performance of the Feng Luan today exceeded the expectations of most 5 wheels cultivators. The Windwheel faction was like a dark horse or a volcano that had been in hibernation for many years suddenly erupting. Because the Feng Luan faction actually dared to fight against the Tian Luan faction, this was something that the other four factions didn't dare to do. Moreover, they were on Mount Tian Luan. This battle would definitely change the status of the Feng Luan faction in the Five Wheels. The Four Spirits' divine formation wasn't an extreme formation. However, it was the four core formation masters who formed the formation. Formations weren't as simple as superimposing power. Elder Du Jing Yin in green, Elder Yin Mutian in white, Elder Qin Huqing in gray, and Elder Fu Ling Yin in red. These four core formation masters weren't the most powerful cultivators in the Tian Luan faction. However, this formation was enough to show disdain for the Five Wheels. However, no matter how imposing they were, the Feng Luan masters didn't move at all. At this moment, Scholar Du, Hua Ke, and Bai Yifeng stood in a triangular formation. Each of them had a different seal in their hands. The three of them were calm and at ease, and there was even a hint of disdain in their eyes. Sumo looked at the formation in front of her and calmed down a little. Although he didn't understand arrays, he felt that second senior brother and the others should have used another kind of array to contend against the Four Spirits array of the four elders of the Tianluan Mountain. Three Spirits, divine formation. Hee. Elder Du sneered. Isn't the formation of the Feng Luan faction shabby? Perhaps you are called the poor. Poor? Seventh senior sister by Yifeng smiled faintly. Do you know the infinite changes of arrays? Today, I'll let everyone have a taste of the three talents formation. With that said, the seventh senior sister's hand seal changed. A ball of green radiance instantly rose behind her. As soon as the ball of green light appeared, it was like a full moon. The light screen was gentle, but it was awe-inspiring. At the same time, that ball of azure light spread out and swallowed Elder Du's azure dragon soul. However, it also leaned toward the red-clad Elder Fu Longyin's vermilion bird soul. At the same time, Scholar Du and Hua Ke also formed hand seals. A blazing sun appeared behind Du Shuxing's back, forming a fan shape as it attacked the vermilion bird's soul and Elder Yun's white tiger's soul respectively. Behind Hua Ke, a myriad of starlight rays shone out, mainly attacking Elder Qin's black tortoise's soul. At the same time, it leaned towards the white tiger's soul. The surrounding area was a circle, and the Windwheel lineage was fighting 3 against 4. Actually, they were at a disadvantage. Therefore, everyone had to share a little more so that the wind and rain wouldn't be able to pass through. However, Bai Yifeng's understanding and application of the formation could be said to be superior to the other 5 wheels. In this formation, Bai Yifeng was the eye of the formation. She naturally had her own changes. The 3 talents, heaven and man, the 3 lights, the sun, the moon, and the stars. The 3 wind wheels used the 3 talents as the form and the 3 lights as the foundation. It was a kind of indiscriminate attack. The 3 lights shone together and covered the sky. With 4 spirits as the formation, how could it be restrained? The 4 elders of the sky wheel mountain also activated the formation. The 4 spirits' souls seemed to have appeared in their true forms. The azure dragon hissed, the white tiger roared, the vermilion bird danced, and the black tortoise roared. For a moment, the entire sky wheel mountain was filled with murderous intent and energy. The disciples of the 5 wheels who were watching the battle retreated one after another. Some disciples at the 7th or 8th stage of the Qi refinement realm even felt dizzy and had no choice but to escape. Even early-stage foundation establishment cultivators had to mobilize their spiritual energy to protect themselves. Only then could they watch from afar. The formation was misty, and murderous intent soared to the sky along with thunder. At the moment, outside the formation, only countless mysterious lights could be seen. The specific battle could no longer be seen clearly. The Windwheel lineage disciples were definitely not at the Foundation establishment realm. This was the consensus outside. Nowadays, the Windwheel lineage has no core formation cultivators, and the windwheel lineage is the weakest among the five wheels, seem to have become a joke for the five wheels. Otherwise, the three foundation establishment cultivators wouldn't be able to fight against the four core formation cultivators even with the help of the formation. The windwheel lineage actually hid their strength so deeply. If the idiot Han Tian, just now, was also a core formation cultivator, then the windwheel lineage had 7 core formation cultivators. The eldest, 5th, and 6th of the windwheel lineage had yet to appear. The 4th windwheel lineage disciple had already died. Was Su Yike, the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator who was in charge of the pavilion of missions on the Yangzhen Peak, also a core formation cultivator? The windwheel lineage was really unimaginable. Why did they hide their strength? 7 core formation cultivators meant that they were the same as the earth wheel lineage. In the earth wheel lineage, including head In Zhongmo, there were only 7 core formation cultivators. The windwheel lineage indeed had a pitiful number of people. However, if all of them were core formation cultivators, it would be enough to shock the 5 wheels. Although there was no one in the windwheel lineage, the cultivation world usually valued the power at the top of the pyramid. If the 5 wheels had a deity tribulation cultivator, they would have already wiped out the Selectan sect. The opposite was also true. If the Selectan sect had a deity tribulation cultivator, they would have already conquered the 5 wheels. The battles in the cultivation world were ultimately the battles of the highest level. If the windwheel lineage really had 7 core formation cultivators, they would be on equal footing with the earthwheel lineage. The structure of the 5 wheels would definitely change. At this moment, the few nascent soul cultivators on the ancestral spirit peak were all silent. The other 6 cultivators each had their own thoughts. The blind ancestor smiled bitterly and shook his head. Windwheel, Windwheel, Master, did you let Sumo become a disciple of the windwheel lineage because you knew all of this? But will the 5 wheels really be destroyed when the windwheel rises? The blind ancestor muttered to himself. Sometimes he didn't even know the meaning of his existence. Facing such a huge battle, the ancestral spirit peak didn't send out any celestial orders. It was as if they had been watching from the sidelines for hundreds of years. This battle was too special for the 5 wheels. But the ancestral spirit peak was silent. A battle of formations was different from a battle of magical powers between cultivators. The tacit understanding and cooperation between those who set up the formations played a very important role. A good formation could multiply the battle prowess of one side. The 3 windwheel lineages cooperated well. The 3 rays of light were like blades and lightning. Not only did they protect the 3, Han Tian and Sumo, but they were also extremely nimble, waiting for an opportunity to strike. There were almost no openings between them. Although the souls of the 4 spirits were unusually domineering, there were always openings. The 4 core formation cultivators were busy dealing with them. That way, the 2 sides maintained a basic balance. The spectators all thought that the 3 windwheel lineages were already core formation cultivators. However, only the 4 core formation cultivators of the Sky Wheel Mountain knew. They were still facing 3 foundation establishment cultivators. The 3 windwheel lineages didn't release the so-called core formation aura. This was what shocked them the most. Even with the help of the formation, the 3 windwheel lineages' strength was too terrifying. What would happen if they reached the core formation stage? Meanwhile, Bai Yifeng's hand seal changed. She turned to second senior brother and said, "Second senior brother, open the seal on the core formation stage. Destroy the soul of the vermilion bird." Second senior brother Du Shusheng formed a seal in front of his chest. A white light formed the shape of a windwheel between his eyebrows. Core formation. Open. Chapter 132. Completion. Activate. Between Scholar Du's brows, a seal was activated. It was exactly the same as the seal on Han Tian's forehead that was about to break when he was about to throw the 4th punch. It was a white seal shaped like a windmill. The windmill spun and Scholar Du's cultivation level increased. It was as if a floodgate had been opened. The beginning stage of completion. The peak of the beginning stage of completion. The intermediate stage of completion. The peak of the intermediate stage of completion. In an instant, Scholar Du's cultivation level reached Elder Du Jingyan's level. At the same time, the sun behind Scholar Du's back shone even brighter. Heaven and earth stirring wind. Scholar Du raised his hand, and the paper fan flew out again. However, this time, the paper fan suddenly unfolded. Inside the fan, it emitted thousands of rays of light that no one dared to look at. Nobody could clearly see what was on the fan. But the moment the fan opened, the sun behind Scholar Du seemed to have received an infinite amount of support. The entire space seemed to be engulfed by Scholar Du's light. The white light turned into a wind that howled. It was a storm of spiritual energy. It was also a storm of the completion level. The mission by Yifeng gave second brother was to destroy the vermilion bird's soul. This was because she could see that the other party's four spirits formation core was not Elder Yun, who was proficient in formations, nor was it their leader, Du Jingyan, but the red-clothed elder, Fu Lingyan. With the vermilion bird as the eye, the four spiritual array was full of changes. At this moment, if Bai Yifeng made a mistake and attacked someone else, then she would be at a disadvantage and might even be defeated. However, Bai Yifeng's array skills were definitely the best in the five-wheel path. If the vermilion bird was destroyed, the array would be broken. Therefore, she asked second brother to open the seal and attack the vermilion bird soul. Of course, the four completion-leveled cultivators of the Tianluan path were not ordinary cultivators. However, they didn't think that Scholar Du had been sealing his cultivation level. A completion-leveled cultivator of the intermediate stage. Scholar Du could very well become an elder of the house, but they had been hiding their abilities. At this moment, Yang Tianxiao, who was inside the leader's palace, snickered. Fengluan, there really is a sealing technique. This is another lost technique of the five wheels. It seems like Windmill's plan is not small. At this moment, the Qingquan Gale attacked, and Elder Fu also formed seals with his hands. The cry of a phoenix could be heard in the void. The vermilion bird's soul abruptly swelled to several thousand feet. Red flames covered the entire sky like a sea of fire. Flames and white light clashed. For a time, they were evenly matched. At the same time, Elder Du and Elder Yun released a portion of their spiritual power to help Elder Fu. But even so, Scholar Du remained fearless, and a cold smile even appeared on the corner of his lips. Because he had the treasured fan. Scholar Du's hand seal changed, and then he shouted, "Withdraw." All of a sudden, the winds and clouds abruptly changed. The paper fan that had been radiating a myriad of mysterious light abruptly spun in the air. The other side of the fan was facing Elder Fu and his vermilion bird soul. Whoosh, whoosh. It wasn't a wind of spiritual energy, but a black hole that had suddenly appeared in the void. In contrast to before, this side of the fan was not releasing, but devouring. In the void, an endless suction force appeared, almost turning everything into a river. The white light and the sea of fire all rushed into the paper fan's black hole. Elder Fu couldn't control the situation at all. Not only was the spiritual energy storm in the void being devoured, the vermilion bird soul behind him was also pulled in. What kind of Dharma treasure is that? Now, everyone was convinced by the power of the paper fan. Is that a nascent, soul-level Dharma treasure? Sumo remembered that she also had an ancient mortal fan in her pocket. But apart from obtaining the immortal spell, Sumo didn't find anything special about it. Elder Fu desperately activated the spell, but it was no match for Scholar Du. The other three elders obviously wanted to protect the eye of the formation, but they were held back by Yifeng and Hua Quebec. Not only that, but they suddenly sensed a faint, sweet fragrance in the void. It was a very faint fragrance that almost everyone ignored, but their minds froze for a moment. A single instant was all that mattered. A shrill cry of a phoenix. The vermilion bird's soul, which was close to 100 feet long, suddenly shrank and was directly absorbed by the black hole in the paper fan, leaving no trace. Whoosh! The vermilion bird's soul was absorbed, and the heavenly wheel four spirits formation instantly collapsed. The souls of the four spirits were collected and refined by each of them. Usually, they were connected to their master's soul. When a vermilion bird's soul was collected, Elder Fu Lungyin's soul was shaken. He had already recovered from the serious injury. Scholar Du didn't stand on ceremony and suddenly stepped forward. He raised his hand and slapped. Pa! Boom! Scholar Du's palm seemed neither light nor heavy, but it directly pressed on the back of Fu Lingyin's heart. It must be said that Scholar Du didn't want to kill him. Otherwise, this would definitely end his life. Even so, that elder Fu Lingyin was still hit more than a dozen feet away, spurting out blood. Then, his body straightened and fell straight into the void. Fortunately, Elder Yun, who was at the side, reacted quickly and cast a white light to support the red-clothed elder. At the same time, Yin Mutian hurriedly took out a pill from his pocket and stuffed it into the elder's mouth. But Fu Lingyin's mouth and nose were bleeding uncontrollably. He might be able to keep his life, but his cultivation would probably be destroyed in an instant. This was probably more terrible than killing him. The entire Tianlun Mountain was in chaos. A core formation elder was seriously injured. This was more serious than killing a foundation establishment cultivator by sumo. At that moment, all the fighting stopped automatically, because the winner and loser had been decided. However, the remaining three elders suddenly felt dizzy and their spiritual energy was not flowing smoothly. Not good. Elder Yun was the first to react. We've been poisoned. At this moment, Hua Kei, the third Feng Lun senior brother, stood in the void with his hands behind his back and looked at the three of them. How about it? Can you still fight? Within 6 hours, if you dare to use your spiritual energy, then you will definitely die from self-explosion. Flowing cloud incense. It tastes good, right? The third senior brother laughed. The divine doctor of Feng Lun could definitely kill people without leaving a trace. No one knew when he had poisoned them. Still, the third senior brother didn't want to kill anyone. Otherwise, as long as he used some tricks in the flowing cloud incense, then none of the three core formation elders would be able to survive. Elder Du and the other two looked at each other in dismay. Nobody dared to move. This was extremely embarrassing. The almighty Tianlun was known as the number one of the five paths. However, in today's battle, they were completely suppressed by the Feng Lun clan, which used to be the weakest clan. More importantly, among the Feng Lun clan, only Scholar Du displayed his core formation realm. The others were still at the foundation establishment realm. Everyone knew that the Feng Lun trio could easily kill the four core formation cultivators. At this moment, inside the leader's cave, Yang Tianxiao's expression didn't change much. Even though the power displayed by the Feng Lun was beyond his expectations, everything was still under his control. What a bunch of useless people. Yang Tianxiao shook his head and sighed. However, he knew that someone would come soon. Right now, the Feng Lun clan would definitely not let the Feng Lun sons go, and the Feng Lun sons would not allow themselves to be captured. Currently, this was a dead end, but eventually, someone would come to break it. Chapter 133. The four great spirit formations were broken. The Tianlun lineage suffered a heavy blow. This was really shocking. However, don't forget that this was the Sky Wheel Mountain. On the Tianlun realm, killing foundation building realm cultivators and crippling core formation realm cultivators. How could they leave? The entire Tianlun lineage had tens of thousands of disciples, which was definitely a force that couldn't be ignored. Among the 5 lineages, the Heaven Wheel realm was the best. For so many years, who dared to run amok on the Heaven Wheel? It should be noted that, aside from core formation elders, there were also many late and peak foundation establishment cultivators in the Tianlun lineage. Perhaps they might not be a match for the Windwheel numerous children one-on-one, but there were too many of them. Bullying should not be done in front of one's house. However, Windmill bullied Tianlun at his doorstep. Who could tolerate such a thing? At this moment, an unknown Heavenly Wheel Foundation establishment cultivator shouted, "Windwheel faction, how dare you? It killed my disciples, injured my elders, and bullied my Tianlun sect. How can I tolerate it? Heaven Wheel Foundation Establishment disciples, listen up, form the Chaos Heaven Formation. Whoosh, Tianlun was united, because they had always been proud of Tianlun. In fact, many of the disciples had wanted to fight with their lives on the line, especially the disciples of the red-clothed elder, Fu Lingyan. In front of their teacher's grace, dignity, and honor, these five-wheel elites were not afraid of death. At this time, there were 500 to 600 Foundation Establishment disciples present. They were well-trained and instantly formed a large formation. On the Sky Wheel Mountain, the mysterious light was soaring. The Chaos Heaven Great Array was the #1 great array of the Sky Wheel. No matter how many people there were, it could form an array. Furthermore, the more people there were, the more powerful it would be. However, it was not a formation that could be used easily, because there was really no need for that. The power of hundreds of foundational cultivators forming an array was not to be underestimated. It might even be stronger than the 4 spiritual array from before. Among them, there were 7 late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators who were in charge of the Grand Formation. The Chaos Heaven's Great Array's momentum soared into the sky. Even though Bai Yifeng was well-versed in formations, she could not help but frown slightly. It wasn't that the formation could really do anything to them, but if the Windwheel Masters wanted to leave the formation, they could only kill. This Chaos Heaven's Great Array was not difficult to break, but one had to be stained with blood along the way. It was fine for Sumo to kill a Heaven Wheel Foundation Establishment cultivator, but it was also fine for Du Shusheng to cripple a Heaven Wheel Core Formation cultivator. However, how could Fengluan Zhu kill so many Tianlun disciples? These disciples were not afraid of death. Could it be that he had to kill them all? That was absolutely impossible. From the standpoint of the Tianlun disciples, they weren't wrong. If they were killed, wouldn't the Windwheel faction become the sinners of the 5 wheels? Hand over Sumo, one of the late-stage Foundation buildings shouted, because things had developed to this point. The biggest problem was that Sumo had killed someone. After all, as long as he was alive, things would be easier. However, the nature of a dead person was different. Hand over Sumo. Hand over Sumo. Kill Sumo. Use the wind-suppressing wheel. Kill Sumo. Use the wind-suppressing wheel. Kill Sumo. Use the wind-suppressing wheel. With someone taking the lead, there were others who responded. 1 person, 10 people, 100 people, a few hundred people. On the Celestial Wheel Mountain, voices rose and fell one after another, and the crowd was like a wave. Sumo and windmill became the words that should be condemned the most. Moreover, there were more and more Heaven Wheel disciples coming from the various peaks. Some of the disciples of the Fire Wheel, Earth Wheel, and Water Wheel also rushed over. Everyone was waiting for the result, or to see a joke. Sumo had become the focus of the whole incident. The Windmill faction became famous after this battle. However, it was a dead end in front of them, because the Mixed Sky Formation could block the path of the Windmill faction, but the Windmill faction would never hand over Sumo. The situation was in a stalemate. What was more interesting was that none of the higher-level figures of the 5 wheels appeared. The 3 core formation elders stood in the field and did not make a move. The other core formation elders of the Tianlun faction did not appear either. Yang Tianxiao was on the mountain, but he did not make a sound. At this moment, Sumo looked at everything coldly. He knew that as long as he stayed, the rest of the Windmill faction would be able to leave safely. This situation would be solved. 7th Senior Sister, I will stay. You, Junior Brother, there is no need to say more. 7th Senior Sister Bai Yifeng immediately interrupted him. You are the Junior Brother of the Windmill faction. We will never hand you over. Don't say that you did nothing wrong. Even if you did, we senior brothers and sisters will bear the consequences for you. Junior Brother, don't be fooled by their numbers. What can they do to me? 3rd Senior Brother said lazily, it's just that I have the virtue of cherishing life. Otherwise, I could kill these hundreds of disciples in an instant. But this, Sumo was touched and wanted to say more. He knew that he could not let the hands of the Windmill faction be stained with the blood of the faction. However, What else could Sumo say after hearing 7th senior sister and 3rd senior brother's words? The windmill faction was home. Sumo truly felt this. Junior brother, don't worry. If I am not wrong, someone will come to pick you up soon. 2nd senior brother looked calm and even waved the paper fan in his hand. Yang Tian Xiao must be waiting for that person. At this moment, Sumo happened to look at 2nd senior brother's fan. However, the fan was empty. There was nothing on it. One side of the fan was black and the other side was white. The white was like the vast snowfield, and the black was like a dark ink pond. It was ordinary and strange. Someone will come to pick me up? Who will come to pick me up? Sumo was surprised by 2nd senior brother's words. Eldest senior brother and the others? At that moment, a shout suddenly rang out from the void. Disciples of the Tianlun faction, step back. It was a cold voice of a woman. Mu Jinghong, senior sister Mu. In an instant, the entire Tianlun mountain was silent. The battle cries from before stopped abruptly and in unison. All the disciples of the Tianlun faction instinctively took a step back. Mu Jinghong's imposing manner could be seen clearly. Black clothes, black skirt, tall figure, an embroidered pouch hanging on her waist. She was an ancient ice beauty. However, Mu Jinghong's expression was even colder than before. The moment she appeared, it was as if a 10,000-year-old glacier had poured in, causing everything to suddenly cool down. The entire Tianlun faction was silent. No one dared to speak. It even made people feel that the entire 5 wheels was silent. Guan Xiong, who was on the Yangjin Peak, had been paying attention to this. At this moment, he narrowed his eyes and frowned slightly. Mu Jinghong, this aura, why does it seem a bit like? However, Guan Xiong didn't dare to think further, because it was too unbelievable. On the ancestral soul peak, the blind ancestors sighed slightly. Mu Jinghong and Sumo, these are the biggest variables of the 5 wheels. At the cave abode at the mountain gate, Balai had just finished exercising and was walking toward the Yangjin Peak step by step. He was actually humming a tune. Perhaps he didn't know what was happening, or perhaps it had nothing to do with him. Balai was going to the Yangjin Peak to continue cleaning the cave abode. Tianlun Mountain. Mu Jinghong stood still and looked around. At this moment, all the disciples didn't dare to look at him. The relationship between Mu Jinghong and Sumo wasn't a secret. Almost everyone on the 5 wheels knew that it was Mu Jinghong who brought Sumo up the mountain. Moreover, when Sumo broke the rules and entered the Windwheel Mountain, Mu Jinghong also confirmed Sumo's identity as a servant. That drop of soul blood was enough to explain everything. If Sumo loses even a strand of hair, I, Mu Jinghong, will trample the Windwheel Mountain. Mu Jinghong's words were still ringing in everyone's ears. Everyone understood that it was a declaration to the entire 5 wheels. Sumo is mine. Chapter 134. She was dressed in a black dress and looked like an immortal. After Mu Jinghong looked at the Tianlun disciples, his eyes fell on Sumo. At this moment, Sumo was also looking at Mu Jinghong. Sumo wasn't hoping for Mu Jinghong to save her, but to know his attitude. Sumo, did you kill a Tianlun Foundation establishment disciple? Mu Jinghong asked slowly. Yes, Sumo said in a deep voice. Why did you kill him? Mu Jinghong asked again. Because if I didn't kill him, he would kill me. Sumo answered in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. This was indeed the truth, and all the Tianlun disciples present could testify. Zhong Wukuan really wanted to kill Sumo, but he didn't. Good reason. Mu Jinghong was expressionless. Then, she turned to Elder Du and asked, Elder Du, did you hear that? Of course I heard it. Elder Du looked at Mu Jinghong with dissatisfaction. This was because Mu Jinghong seemed to be protecting Sumo. Was there a good reason to kill a fellow disciple? It's good that you heard it. Mu Jinghong's tone was flat. What Sumo said was the truth. You actually had a reason to kill and killed him. In that case, I will take Sumo with me. Wow. The Tianlun Mountain was originally silent. However, Mu Jinghong's words instantly caused a commotion. The expressions of all the Tianlun disciples changed slightly. This was because Mu Jinghong made it sound too easy. You actually had a reason to kill and killed him. In that case, I will take Sumo with me. What was this? Did it mean that Zhong Wukuan, the Foundation Establishment Realm disciple, deserved to die? Just because there was a reason one could kill at will? In Mu Jinghong's tone, killing a fellow disciple sounded like getting rid of a scourge for the people. The Tian Luan disciples were in an uproar. After all, Mu Jinghong was a Tian Luan disciple. However, she seemed to be on the side of Fenglin. Junior Mu, you said it too lightly. The one who spoke was Elder Qin Huqing. A human life is at stake. Even if my disciple, Zhong Wukuan, was in the wrong and shouldn't have rashly used the blood mystic technique, he didn't cause any consequences, so he definitely doesn't deserve to die. Taking a step back, even if he did something wrong, I, as his master, should be the one to discipline him. Sumo raised her sword and killed him. A life for a life. The death penalty cannot be forgiven, Qin Huqing said sternly, because at this moment, he was the most vexed. Zhong Wukuan's death was definitely not his intention. He was only ordered to stop Han Tian and Sumo. Everything that happened after that was out of his control. Zhong Wukuan was too impulsive. At the same time, he also felt that Zhong Wukuan's death was a little strange. However, Zhong Wukuan was already dead. If he couldn't get an explanation from Sumo today, as a completion elder, not only would he lose face, but he would also disappoint his own disciples. In the future, it would be difficult for Qin Huqing to gain a foothold in the Sky Wheel Mountain as an elder. Elder Qin, how dare you say such words? Mu Jinghong glanced at Elder Qin and sneered. Even if he did something wrong, you, as his master, should be the one to discipline him. Let me ask you, when Zhong Wukuan wanted to kill Sumo, was he wrong? What were you doing at that time? You were there for everything that happened just now. As a completion-level cultivator, can't you stop a Foundation Establishment disciple? You, as a master, are really capable. If you could stop your own disciple, how could you be killed? Not only are you lax in teaching, but you are also suspected of allowing your disciple to commit murder. His skills are inferior, but he is still arrogant. He only has himself to blame. That Zhong Wukuan deserves to die. You. Qin Huqing was both embarrassed and angry. He pointed at Mu Jinghong with a pale face and was speechless for a moment. Mu Jinghong was right. He actually had the ability to stop Zhong Wukuan. He just didn't expect that Sumo could kill Zhong Wukuan. Put your hand down. Seeing that Qin Huqing dared to point at him, Mu Jinghong's expression suddenly turned cold. However, how could Qin Huqing listen to her? At this moment, the two of them had completely fallen out. In an instant, Mu Jinghong moved. The two of them were more than 10 meters apart. Only after images could be seen. Mu Jinghong's speed was unimaginable. Even Du Shusheng, the second brother of the Windwheel sect, frowned when he saw his speed. Mu Jinghong's movement technique was too fast. It was definitely not a skill that a foundational cultivator could use. In an instant, Mu Jinghong appeared in front of Qin Huqing and seemed to raise his hand slightly. Qi! A black light flashed, rising and falling. However, most of the people present did not see the specific movement clearly. However, the few completion-level cultivators still saw it clearly. In that instant, Mu Jinghong drew his sword. A black long sword appeared in his hand. He raised the sword, and Qin Huqing pointed at Mu Jinghong. Mu Jinghong's right index finger was directly cut off. Ah! Qin Huqing cried out in alarm. Cutting off a finger was not fatal to anyone. However, the expressions of the two elders beside him also changed. Facing Mu Jinghong, they did not have the slightest ability to resist. At that moment, it seemed like everyone wanted to make a move. However, no one dared to make a move, because the black longsword in Mu Jinghong's hand was already in between Qin Huqing's eyebrows. Qin Huqing's face was ashen. He wondered how Mu Jinghong did it. At that moment, if Mu Jinghong wanted to, he could kill Qin Huqing in an instant. Qin Huqing. Mu Jinghong called out Elder Qin's name coldly. Today, I will spare your life on account of how difficult it was for you to cultivate and that you are an elder of the Sky Will sect. That finger is the price you have to pay for pointing at me. Since you said it yourself, the disciple is in the wrong and should be disciplined by the master. Then today, Sumo is in the wrong. He is on the 5 wheels and has no master. Naturally, he should be punished by me, the master. If I want to kill him or cut him up, it is not up to you, let alone you. The black sword in Mu Jinghong's hand glowed. In the last half of her sentence, she looked around at all the disciples of the Sky Wheel sect. Whoever wants to kill Sumo, if you have the ability, defeat my sword. Otherwise, whoever dares to kill Sumo will be my mortal enemy. Mu Jinghong's tone was cold. Sumo should be killed. On the Skywell sect, there were really people who were not afraid of death. The one who spoke was a middle-stage Foundation establishment disciple who was on good terms with Zhong Wukuan. At this moment, his eyes were red. Just now, he wanted to kill Sumo. However, he didn't have a chance. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a black light flew out of Mu Jinghong's embroidered bag. Like the cry of a phoenix or the cry of a crane, it pierced the sky. Black Feather Shenhong. Everyone in the 5 Wheels sect knew that Mu Jinghong had a mutated spiritual divine bird. The black light rose and fell even faster than Mu Jinghong's speed. In the crowd, there was a scream. Black Feather Shenhong was transformed from the soul of the Styx River in the Dark World. It was covered in black feathers and had a long, blood-red beak. It was more than 5 feet long, but when it spread its wings, it was nearly 10 feet. At this moment, Black Feather Shenhong's mouth was holding half of a body, dripping with blood. It was the Sky Wheel Foundation establishment disciple who said he wanted to kill Sumo. His upper body was exposed, and he died with his eyes open. Shenhong ate people. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.